Chapter 2792. Don't worry. I will think of a way to solve this problem, and not let him merge successfully. Even if Fire Phoenix King did not say it, Night Sorrow knew what it meant for Dark Feather King to merge with the Darkness Origin. But in reality, even if he was at his peak, he did not have the confidence to solve the crisis in front of him. Fire Phoenix King reminded him again. The strength of the Darkness Origin that he has merged with has exceeded our knowledge. If he dares to merge with the Darkness Origin in front of you, it means that even if you use Tianyun Bao to attack him, it might not have any effect. It's best to use a Divine Soul attack. If your Divine Soul attack is strong enough, it can interfere with him. Yes, if you use a Divine Soul attack, it might have an unexpected effect. Dragon Sparrow King, who had not spoken for a long time, also said. He also felt that a Divine Soul attack was the best way to solve the crisis in front of them. That's a way. Night Sorrow received the two's reminder and suddenly had some ideas. After thinking for a while, he roared the Green Rock Soul-splitting roar at Dark Feather King, who had merged with the Darkness Origin. But it did not have any effect. He also used the Samsara Halberd to attack the Divine Soul, but it did not have any effect either. Dark Feather King, who had fused with Darkness Origin, was still suspended in the void in a demonic manner. The Darkness Origin's power in the void, which was illuminated by Tianyun Bao, continued to flow into his body. With the influx of the energy, Dark Feather King's aura became stronger and stronger. If continuing to attack does not have any effect, the only way is to run away. Fire Phoenix King saw that Night Sorrow's attack did not have any effect and immediately became worried. They were now bound together for good or ill. If something happened to Night Sorrow, she would not have a good ending either. No. According to what they said, the realm of the gods must be in a dangerous situation. I have to destroy the Darkness Origin in front of me, Night Sorrow said as he unwillingly consumed a few pills. After recovering his Divine Origin force, he activated the 33 Heavens Battle Secret technique and used the merit power to form 5 merit arrows. He shot the merit arrows at Dark Feather King, who had merged with the Darkness Origin, but it still did not have any effect. As time passed, Dark Feather King, who had transformed into his original form, turned back into a man. He floated in the void, his long hair, and the Darkness Origin's power. The Darkness Origin's power even make Tianyun Bao's power. Dragon Sparrow King reminded Dark Feather King. Lord's Night Sorrow, you can set up a formation. No matter how strong he is, Dark Feather Kings, no matter how strong he is to assess to you. The formation you speak of relies on the terrain and the power of the starlight. It's dark here, and I can't borrow the power of starlight. King Long Ke, your reminder is very timely. After replying to the Dragon Sparrow King, Yishang immediately thought about what kind of formation he could set up here. Night Sorrow did not hesitate and set it up. Then he thought for a while and set up a formation that could absorb energy. He started to absorb the Darkness Origin's power. Although the absorption speed was much slower than Dark Feather King's, it could still absorb some of the Darkness Origin's power. Night Sorrow was prepared to detonate the formation after it absorbed a large amount of energy. This would deal a fatal blow to Dark Feather King. Dark Feather King was absorbing the Darkness Origin's power and posed a great threat. However, his biggest weakness was that he could not move. Although his defense was amazing and even Tianyun Bao's 5 elemental arrow could not pose a threat, Night Sorrow could use it as he wished. What kind of formation is this? Can it be stacked and set up a few more? Dragon Sparrow King, who was in the Clear Heaven Pagoda, saw Night Sorrow set up a formation that could absorb the Darkness Origin's power and immediately asked. Of course not. If I could, I would have set up 10 or 20 of them. Night Sorrow replied speechlessly to Dragon Sparrow King's question. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Dragon Sparrow King did not speak. Fire Phoenix King spoke first. This won't do. It won't affect him much. If this goes on, he will still succeed. We will all die. In this kind of environment, the formation I can set up is only this much. Night Sorrow replied helplessly. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind and he said, I seem to have thought of a way. He thought of the method to absorb the Darkness Origin energy and control the souls of the dark creatures in the Endless Bone realm. Without any hesitation, he immediately absorbed the darkness origin. Night Sorrow, what are you doing? We cultivators of the divine realm will suffer a backlash if we absorb this kind of darkness origin energy. We will completely become slaves of the darkness. Seeing that Night Sorrow was actually absorbing the darkness origin energy, Fire Phoenix King, who had some understanding of this kind of energy, immediately advised. She felt that Night Sorrow's response was not a good idea. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. This is the best way. After replying, Night Sorrow continued to absorb the darkness origin energy. After absorbing almost all of it, he immediately used the fused souls to control Dark Feather King, who had fused with the darkness origin energy. Although the darkness origin energy gave Dark Feather King an extremely strong defense, it could not stop Night Sorrow from using mind control on him. You can actually use this kind of method. He did not expect Night Sorrow, a virtuous divine lord, to be able to use such a dark method. Dark Feather King, who did not care about Night Sorrow's attack, immediately realized that something was wrong and used his soul to resist. His originally tightly shut eyes abruptly opened, revealing a pair of black hole-like eyes. It looked extremely evil. The moment he opened his eyes, two black beams of light shot towards Night Sorrow's body. Your attack is useless. Night Sorrow, who was competing with Dark Feather King, knew that Dark Feather King's attack contained the darkness origin energy. However, he did not take it to heart. As he was attacked by the darkness origin energy, Tianyun Bao released a shocking amount of energy at the crucial moment and blocked the attack. Your mind control attack is also useless against this king. After confirming that the darkness origin energy did not pose a threat to Night Sorrow's body, Dark Feather King replied confidently. In his opinion, although Night Sorrow was talented, he was still a divine lord. His soul was not as strong as his. Chapter 2793. Not only was Night Sorrow's divine soul powerful, but it was also ridiculously powerful. Relatively speaking, it was even more terrifying than his strength. After resisting for a while, Dark Feather King thoroughly realized that things were not good. Although he was absorbing the darkness source power nonstop and his strength kept increasing, his divine soul strength did not increase by much. Facing the divine soul strength of Night Sorrow, he gradually showed signs of being unable to resist. At this time, he already did not dare to divide his divine soul to absorb the darkness source power anymore, and focused on resisting Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow indeed has a way worthy of being the challenger designated by Lord Ancestor Phoenix. Seeing that Night Sorrow actually forced Dark Feather King to stop absorbing the darkness source power in the vast heaven pagoda, he was immediately roused. Regarding this, Dragon Sparrow King smiled without finding it strange and said, I said before, his means are astonishing. Anything he does is not surprising. If I were you after today, I'd directly seek refuge with him. In the future, his accomplishments are limitless. If we follow behind him, we might have the chance to break through to Sovereign Realm. Compared to Fire Phoenix King, Dragon Sparrow King had more contact with Night Sorrow and trusted him more. For now, I'll believe what you said. But I, Fire Phoenix King, don't want to submit to others. Although he felt that what Dragon Sparrow King said made sense, when it really needed to be humiliated, Fire Phoenix King still chose to refuse. People all said that dragons and phoenixes had aspirations. Fire Phoenix King, as the phoenix race, had his own pride. Don't want to submit to others, then forget it. Regarding Fire Phoenix King's choice, Dragon Sparrow King actually understood, but he did not appreciate it. In his view, a wise man submits to circumstances. During the process of the two people's brief conversation, Night Sorrow and Dark Feather King's divine soul confrontation already progressed to a white-hot stage. Dark Feather King, who was originally incomparably confident in his own divine soul, somewhat panicked after discovering that Night Sorrow's divine soul was stronger than his. Under the situation where he was virtually completely suppressed, he started to beg the darkness source for help. Dark Feather King was willing to be controlled by the darkness source will, and was not willing to be controlled by Night Sorrow's mind. At the end of the battle, Dark Feather King's soul had already been destroyed, and his control was completely taken over by the dark origin. This was an incomparably evil will. After it took over Dark Feather King's soul, it immediately fought against Night Sorrow and took the initiative. Little Divine Lord Realm Cultivator, all that awaits you is complete destruction. The power of the origin source is not something you can resist. While fighting against Night Sorrow, the Darkness Origin will was also constantly interfering. You reminded me. I also have the power of the origin. The Darkness Origin will's words reminded Night Sorrow of the rewards bestowed by the God World's origin. Although the origin energy of the God Realm was not particularly powerful, the origin energy that it contained was extremely pure. After using the God World's origin energy, Night Sorrow was immediately strengthened. The will of the Darkness Origin, which he had originally felt impossible to resist, was now gradually becoming something that he could barely resist. This was due to the fact that Night Sorrow's divine soul was a fusion of two separate divine seas. It was even more powerful than the average Divine King. After all, even the middle-level Divine King, Dark Feather King, had a divine soul that was weaker than him. It's useless. There's a saying that goes, when the Tao is 1 foot tall, the devil is 10 feet tall. Even if you can use the power of the origin, you're still not my match. After Night Sorrow used the God World's origin power, the Darkness Origin will immediately became even stronger. It took the initiative again. Not good. Night Sorrow seems to be in trouble. In the vast heaven pagoda, Fire Phoenix King, who was talking to Dragon Sparrow King, immediately realized that something was wrong. But she was in the spatial artifact and could not get out at all. She could only be anxious. Look at Dark Feather King's aura. It became so evil in an instant, as if he became a different person. Dragon Sparrow King, who had been carefully observing, also saw that something was wrong. He immediately communicated with Shao Kong and said, Vast Heaven Pagoda's artifact spirit, do you have any way to help Lord Night Sorrow? His situation is not too good. I don't have the ability to participate in this battle. However, I can activate the array formation that has been set up. At the same time that Shao Kong responded to Dragon Sparrow King, it directly activated the array formation that Night Sorrow had set up. After the array formation was activated, it immediately began to weaken the Darkness Origin power. Before being suppressed by the array formation, the Darkness Origin power was roughly equivalent to a half-step sovereign strength. After being weakened by the array formation, it was almost reduced to the level of a high-level Divine King. The Darkness Origin power was also weakened a lot because of this. Night Sorrow felt that the pressure on him had decreased a lot. Damn array formation. After being suppressed by the array formation, the Darkness Origin power was immediately enraged. The evil it wanted to destroy the array formation at the first moment. It split off some of its will to control the origin power and launch a barrage of attacks on the array formation. Moreover, it split off a trace of its will to control the origin power and launch an attack on the Vast Heaven Pagoda. Seeing that the Vast Heaven Pagoda was being attacked, the Fire Phoenix King and Dragon Sparrow King's eyes widened. However, just as the Darkness Origin power approached, Tianyun Bao shook again and directly blasted the Darkness Origin power away. But the light of Tianyun Bao, who released another attack, started to weaken at a speed visible to the naked eye. If Lord Night Sorrow can't win quickly, things will be dangerous. The sovereign divine artifact Tianyun Bao seems to have already exhausted all of its energy. Although the Dragon Sparrow King inside the Vast Heaven Pagoda was glad that he was saved by the Vast Heaven Pagoda, he was clearly aware that Tianyun Bao was already close to the state of a lamp running out of oil. He could only place his hopes on Night Sorrow. The Fire Phoenix King beside him was similarly so, extremely anxious. At this time, the Fire Phoenix King, who thought for a moment, suddenly opened her mouth and said, Dragon Sparrow King, do you think that if the Vast Heaven Pagoda is shattered, can we go out and fight? The feeling of being completely unable to exert strength made the Fire Phoenix King very conflicted. What you said seems to make some sense. However, I feel that since Lord Ancestor Phoenix set the rules, there shouldn't be any loopholes left. Not being able to use spatial artifacts is because His Excellency wants to test the challenger and doesn't wish for him to receive any help. If we take advantage of the loophole to attack, it's very likely that we'll touch the rules taboo. The Dragon Sparrow King, who thought for a while similarly, had some thoughts in his heart. He felt that if the darkness source power blasted towards the vast heaven pagoda again, then the vast heaven pagoda would very likely be directly shattered. He and the Fire Phoenix King might be able to extricate themselves and fight side by side with Night Sorrow. But he was somewhat worried that this would anger the Ancestor Phoenix Supreme who set the rules. "Why are you guys like this?" Little Sky, who heard the conversation between the Fire Phoenix King and the Dragon Sparrow King, immediately trembled in fear. If the vast heaven pagoda was shattered, its outcome as an artifact spirit would definitely be extremely tragic. Right at this time, the location where the Dark Feather King and the Darkness Source were, the energy suddenly started to fluctuate violently. Very clearly, this was the Darkness Source will brewing an attack again, preparing to launch an attack towards the vast heaven pagoda again. The Darkness Source was the same as the Dragon Sparrow King and the Fire Phoenix King. Similarly, seeing that Tianyun Bao's energy was already basically exhausted, it wanted to directly destroy the vast heaven pagoda. Chapter 2794. The two of them discovered that the Darkness Source power brewed by the Darkness Source was already half-step sovereign level. If this kind of attack was released, regardless of whether it was Night Sorrow's body, the vast heaven pagoda, or them, they might all be directly insta-killed. The only thing present that could survive was probably only Tianyun Bao, this sovereign divine artifact. Very clearly, the Darkness Source power's attack just now was just a simple probing. At this very moment, it was preparing to erupt with its strongest attack. The goal was not just to destroy the vast heaven pagoda. Most importantly, it wanted to directly destroy Night Sorrow's body. What to do? What should we do? Even under these circumstances, Night Sorrow was still fighting against the will of darkness. The Fire Phoenix King inside the vast heaven pagoda was anxious like an ant on a hot pan, already panicking to a certain extent. And at this time, the Darkness Source power was still continuing to condense, becoming stronger and stronger. What can we do? We can only pin our hopes on Lord Night Sorrow. The Dragon Sparrow King, who was at his wits' end inside the vast heaven pagoda, sighed helplessly. The Darkness Source power in the middle of condensing was raised to the limit at this moment, and could not be raised anymore. Will definitely be obliterated by this attack. Seeing the Darkness Source power completely condense, the Fire Phoenix King's constricted pupils gradually calmed down. She opened her mouth and said, "Anyway, if we fail, we can still return to the small world. At most, we'll die again. I feel that things are not that simple. Perhaps, being killed this time, will perish forever." Dragon Sparrow King's heart. A strong foreboding premonition rose up. At the same time, the Darkness Source power that finished condensing attacked toward Night Sorrow's body, and the vast heaven pagoda mercilessly. The Fire Phoenix King and Dragon Sparrow King immediately fell into despair. The situation was already as critical as a hair's breadth. "It's fine. No need to panic." Just as the Fire Phoenix King and Dragon Sparrow King were already in despair, Night Sorrow suddenly transmitted his voice over. Dragon Sparrow King immediately asked agitatedly, "Lord Night Sorrow, you've already successfully controlled the other party's mind?" "That's not it. But I didn't use all of my divine soul power. My body won't become a complete target." After replying, Night Sorrow used some of the power of his divine soul that he hadn't used. He held the Tianyun Bao in his hand, and used the dragon steps in the profound sky to hide. The Darkness Origin originally thought that Night Sorrow's body wouldn't be able to move, so its attack was very simple. It was a pure condensation of extremely powerful energy, yet it was easily dodged. Night Sorrow successfully dodged the attack with the Clear Sky Pagoda. The Dragon Sparrow King immediately let out a long sigh of relief. However, the attack of the Darkness Source power was very powerful, directly piercing through the array formation that Night Sorrow set up, reducing the power of the array formation by quite a bit. The suppression on the Darkness Origin was also much smaller than before. At this time, the Darkness Source will gathered all of its will, preparing to launch the final confrontation with Night Sorrow. But what it didn't expect was that Night Sorrow didn't withdraw. The part of his divine soul that he left behind controlled the body, and used the Samsara halberd to pierce Dark Feather King's Dantian. With his Dantian broken, Dark Feather King's body was almost crippled. Even if the darkness source will controlled it, it wouldn't be of much use. Seeing that Night Sorrow had broken Dark Feather King's dantian, the darkness source will immediately withdrew from Dark Feather King's body. It took the opportunity to attach itself to Night Sorrow's body, wanting to seize control of his body. Want to seize my body? You've made the worst choice. Night Sorrow, who had already controlled Dark Feather King's body, saw that the darkness source was about to seize control of his body. He immediately left Dark Feather King's deity and returned to his body to fight it. In the previous confrontation, the darkness source had the upper hand. However, Night Sorrow's body had a large amount of merit power. After being at a disadvantage, Night Sorrow immediately used his merit power to purify the darkness source will. After being purified by the merit power, the darkness source immediately weakened. Seeing that the situation wasn't right, it wanted to leave Night Sorrow's body. But how could Night Sorrow let it leave? He used his merit power to bind it and purify it bit by bit. After the darkness source was completely purified, the darkness source will become a body of energy with no consciousness. The surrounding world began to change from a pitch-black world to a bright one. After using Tianyun Bao to destroy the darkness source Night Sorrow obtained a sparkling black ball. Although this black ball emitted a black aura, it wasn't evil at all. Instead, it contained a trace of dominating aura. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow threw it into Tianyun Bao to repair Tianyun Bao's injuries. After using Tianyun Bao to absorb the black ball, Tianyun Bao recovered a lot and was in a better state than before the battle. Night Sorrow was very happy about this. He sent a voice transmission to Dragon Sparrow King and Fire Phoenix King. Now that the darkness source has been broken, the Divine King of the Dark Territory has probably fallen to the Divine Lord level and is no longer a threat. Tianyun Bao has recovered more than half. We still have 6 territories to explore. As long as we destroy the origins of these 6 territories, the crisis of the Divine World's territory will be resolved. That's right, Dragon Sparrow King replied and asked. Then, should we go to other territories or the Divine World's territory to check on the battle situation? Let's go to the Divine World's territory to check on the battle situation first. If the Divine World's territory has the ability to hold on for a period of time, we'll go to other territories and think of ways to destroy their origins. If the Divine World's territory can't be defended, then the matter will be difficult to solve. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow said and carried the Samsara halberd and Tianyun Bao on his back and flew in the direction of the Divine World's territory. During the flight, Night Sorrow realized that after the surroundings became bright, some of the birds and beasts that had lost their intelligence began to wake up. He was very gratified. However, although they were getting closer and closer to the Divine World's territory, Night Sorrow's mood began to become heavier and heavier. Today, there was only one big city left in the Divine World's territory that was not occupied by the evil creatures of the 7 territories. The reason why it was not occupied by the 7 territories was because this big city and its circumference of 1,000,000 miles was enveloped by an extremely tyrannical array. When Night Sorrow found the vicinity, the evil creatures were using all kinds of methods to break the array. Although the array in front of them was of a high grade, it was not a dominator-level array. It was only a matter of time before it was broken. Seeing the situation in front of her, Fire Phoenix King said, "Although the Divine World's territory is in danger, it seems to be very safe for now. We can go to other territories to destroy their origins in peace." No, things are not that simple. Chapter 2795. Things aren't that simple? Lord Night Sorrow. What do you mean? Dragon Sparrow King, who was in the Clear Sky Pagoda, immediately frowned and asked after hearing Night Sorrow's words. He was the same as Fire Phoenix King, unable to leave the Clear Sky Pagoda. His perception of the outside world was much weaker. Some things could not be seen at all. Is the array protecting the Divine Realm cities about to be broken? Fire Phoenix King asked worriedly. Night Sorrow carefully observed his surroundings. Seeing that there was nothing unusual around him, he transmitted his voice to the 2. If I'm not wrong, the people of the 7 territories are setting up the heaven and earth killing array. If they succeed in activating it, the city's defensive array will definitely be broken. The array they set up is borrowing the power of heaven and earth. It's better than the city's defensive array. What? Heaven and earth killing array? Hearing this name, Fire Phoenix King was stunned. Then she said, I heard that setting up this array requires a lot of materials. I wonder how they are going to activate it. They probably don't have enough materials, and want to use the origins of the 7 territories to make up for it. Therefore, it can't be considered a real heaven and earth killing array. However, I feel that the power won't be much weaker. Knight Sorrow said. He had comprehended the heaven and earth killing array in the heaven and earth array diagram. Compared to the array set up by the 7 territories, it was much better. However, the 7 territories had 7 great origins. Of course, at present, there were already 6 great origins. At this time, the darkness origin had already been absorbed by Tianyin Bao. The strength of the Dark Territories' Divine King and Divine Lord had already decreased. However, they did not make any noise in their own territories. After all, if the people of the other territories knew that the Dark Territory had even lost its origins, they might directly devour them. In that case, the Dark Territory would directly disappear. Now that the Darkness origin has been absorbed by Tianyin Bao, can they still successfully activate the Heaven and Earth Killing Array? Fire Phoenix King asked doubtfully. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, she also felt that things were a bit difficult. After all, excluding the Dark Territory, the other 6 territories had at least 15 Divine Kings. The number of Divine Kings in the Divine Realm should not be more than 5. According to my judgment, it can definitely be activated, but it's hard to say how powerful it will be. However, if we can destroy 2 or 3 more origins, their great formation should not be able to be activated. Night Sorrow voiced his opinion. At that moment, he suddenly stopped his voice transmission. This was because he discovered that not far away, there were 2 extremely ugly Divine Lords in human form. They were slowly flying through the void. Cowlinger, who had just walked out from her cultivation, saw the faces of these 2 Divine Lords, and was so frightened that she suddenly cried out in the vast heaven pagoda. Regardless of whether it was the Scarlet Territory, the Soul Slaughter Territory, the 10,000 Miasma Territory, the Een Demon Territory, the 1,000 Wasps Territory, or the Poison Heart Territory. Compared to the cultivators of the Celestial Realm, most of the living beings in the Celestial Realm had ferocious appearances. Even if they were to transform into human form, they would still retain some of their original characteristics. Don't brag. Lord Night Sorrow is currently deep in the enemy's territory. If he were to be discovered, it would be a one-on-one fight against 7 territories. He would definitely not be a match for them. As soon as Cowlinger cried out, Long K King made a gesture to her to keep quiet. At that moment, the Divine King level figures of the 7 territories were all paying attention to the great formation protecting the Celestial Realm cities. No one would have thought that there would be people from the Celestial Realm appearing outside the cities. Therefore, the defenses and alertness of each territory were relatively low. Therefore, Night Sorrow could easily sneak into the hinterland of such a place. If he were to be discovered in the center of such a battle zone, he would definitely be surrounded. Long K King was worried that the sound in the vast heaven pagoda would be transmitted to the outside world. It's okay. If it weren't for Little Kong's special control, the people outside would not be able to hear the sound inside. Night Sorrow and the others walked far away and said. Then he continued, what we need to do now is to quickly find the origins of 2 or 3 territories and destroy them. It's easier said than done to find the location of the origins. After all, the origins have their own will. Long K King heard Night Sorrow's words and immediately felt a little dejected. He felt that it was too difficult to complete this task. First of all, it was difficult to determine the location of the origins. Secondly, if they were to make a move and cause a big commotion, it would definitely alarm the people of the other territories. In that case, Night Sorrow would definitely face the situation of being surrounded and annihilated. Difficult doesn't mean that there is no way. I can feel that the 7 territories in front of us are using less than 1% of their origins in the formation. It seems that they are testing the power of the Celestial Realm's formation. If the remaining 6 origins are not in the formation's location, we will have a great chance. At first, Night Sorrow thought that the origins of the other 6 territories were already present. However, after carefully observing with the eye of the sea serpent, he realized that he could not be sure whether they were there or not. At that moment, Cao Linger, who was trembling in fear, suddenly sent a voice transmission. Brother Night Sorrow, the origins you are talking about, are they the ones that we encountered in the battle just now? Yes. As long as 2 or 3 of them are destroyed, the threat facing the celestial realm will be reduced by a lot. Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to Cao Linger. Then Linger can go out and help Brother Night Sorrow to sense their location. Cao Linger continued to send a voice transmission. She was very happy when she thought of what she could do for Night Sorrow. Long K King and Fire Phoenix King, who heard this, shook their heads one after another. The 2 of them did not speak. Night Sorrow said with a smile, Linger, in the current situation, Brother Night Sorrow is unable to release you. Otherwise, your brother K King and sister Fire Phoenix would have come out to fight with Brother Night Sorrow. Ah. I'm sorry, Brother Night Sorrow. Linger forgot about this. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Cao Linger immediately blushed. She thought for a while with a red face and said, Brother Night Sorrow, actually, I don't need to go out. You can also hunt them down. Oh. What method do you need to use to hunt down the origins of several large territories? Night Sorrow asked curiously. I can teach Brother Night Sorrow a secret technique to track aura. The aura in front of you can help Brother Night Sorrow to track down the location of the territory's origins. Cao Linger said. She continued, however, this is the Horn Race's secret technique. After Brother Night Sorrow obtains it, you can't teach it to others. Since it's the Horn Race's secret technique, Brother Night Sorrow shouldn't learn it. Just study other methods. Night Sorrow immediately refused when he heard that Cao Linger wanted to teach him the Horn Race's secret technique. If he learned the secret method of the Horn clan from a little girl, he would feel bad. Brother Night Sorrow, our entire Horn Race tribe was saved by you. Furthermore, you have karma with our ancestors. Learning the Horn Race's secret technique is nothing. You should learn it. Chapter 2796. At this time, Night Sorrow was still in the state of fusion of 2 divine souls. His comprehension was extremely terrifying. Cao Linger had just transmitted the secret technique's incantation to him, and he naturally comprehended it. In an instant he comprehended the secret technique. Night Sorrow sighed slightly and said, Since we're here, let's take things as they come. Just take good care of the Horn tribe in the future. However, at the same time he separated his 2 divine souls, and let them return to the first and second divine seas respectively. He was still not used to the feeling of 2 divine souls fusing together. Then he said to Cao Linger, thank you for this matter, but don't do it again. Linger knows. Brother Night Sorrow, you have to do your best. Cao Linger smiled sweetly. She understood that Night Sorrow had already learned the secret technique. Okay. Brother Night Sorrow, I won't let Linger down. After replying to Cao Linger, Night Sorrow began to use the secret technique to track down the source of the bloody territory. After following the bloody aura for a while, Night Sorrow gradually left the vicinity of the Divine World cities and entered the real bloody territory. The first source that I'm looking for is not near the Divine World cities. This is a very good opportunity. After confirming that the bloody source was in the depths of the bloody territory, the difficulty of the matter was greatly reduced. Night Sorrow felt very fortunate. It's a good opportunity. However, you still need to be careful. Who knows, you might encounter several Divine King. Dragon Sparrow King also felt fortunate, but he did not forget to remind him. If you solve it fast enough, you won't encounter many Divine King, because many Divine King are around the Divine World's territories. While Night Sorrow was tracking the bloody source, he was very careful in the bloody territory. He encountered some creatures that originally belonged to the Divine World. Whether they were human cultivators or other cultivators, they had all been corroded by the bloody color and turned into mindless bloody puppets. These tragic scenes reminded Night Sorrow of the Eternal Supreme World. If it weren't for the Supremes of the Eternal Supreme Realm, he and most of the cultivators of the God Realm would have been reduced to such a mindless existence. This must be the sorrowful aura that primordial phoenix ancestor wants me to feel. As Yishang continued to move toward the location of the blood origin, he felt something and comprehended many things. Just like that, he took about 3 days to bring everyone in the Great Sky Pagoda to the Bloody Territories base camp. It was a blood-red palace. The palace towered into the clouds and was completely made of bones. Due to the effects of the spirit design, there was blood flowing on the surface of the bones. It looked extremely evil. Outside the palace, thousands of blood feather gods and high gods were patrolling. These blood-colored creatures were all in human form, but they did not have faces at all. They gave off a very bad feeling. Some of them would turn into a pool of blood after walking for a while, and then stand up again. There are too many patrolling. If we rush in rashly, I'm afraid we'll alert the enemy. Seeing countless blood-colored soldiers patrolling around the palace, Dragon Sparrow King immediately frowned in the Great Sky Pagoda. At this time Night Sorrow said, "They won't be a threat to me at all. The dangerous thing is the spirit design in the vicinity." As he spoke, Night Sorrow took a step forward and walked toward the blood-colored palace. He walked between the feather gods and high gods. These blood-colored soldiers did not even look at him. This made Dragon Sparrow King very surprised. He asked curiously, "Lord Night Sorrow, how did you do it? Even if there's a concealment spirit design on your body, it shouldn't be impossible for them to discover you at such a close distance. This is called the law of the land. As long as I open my mouth, cultivators who are lower than me will not pose any threat to me." As Night Sorrow explained, he stepped into the blood-colored palace. Because the sea serpent's eye could see through the surrounding spirit design, he was not discovered by the blood-colored soldiers and did not trigger any spirit design. Amazing! This ability is too exaggerated. Doesn't this mean that if you cultivate to the ruler level, no matter how many divine kings the other rulers send to surround and kill you, it won't be of any use? Hearing Night Sorrow's description, Xiao and Fire Phoenix King were surprised. After all, in the god realm, some rulers were still worried about being targeted by some powerful divine kings. After all, the ruler's origin was a necessity for a divine king to advance to the ruler level. However, if Night Sorrow advanced to the ruler level, he would not have to worry about these problems at all. This was because he did not need to make a move at all. He could just open his mouth and say a few words to kill the other party. Seeing Fire Phoenix King's envious expression, Dragon Sparrow King smiled and said, "The challenger chosen by the Ancestor Phoenix is naturally not simple." Fire Phoenix King was still immersed in her reverie and only responded softly. At this time, Night Sorrow's expression gradually became serious. After entering the blood-colored palace, he followed the aura of the blood-colored spirit design and kept searching. Finally, he tracked it to a blood-colored mountain peak. At this time, there were some blood tribe creatures slaughtering some high gods and divine lords of the god realm. In just a few breaths of time, more than 20 high gods of the god realm had their heads chopped off. Only 3 divine lords and 6 or 7 high gods were left. Their faces were all filled with hatred and unwillingness. Blood spurted out from the neck of those who had their heads chopped off, dyeing the rocks on the mountain peak red, and emitting a strong smell of blood. However, this smell of blood was quickly absorbed by an invisible force. Only the surface of the rocks was left. The blood that had lost its vitality gradually turned from red to dark red. It's the blood-colored spirit design. It's absorbing the smell of blood. Night Sorrow sized up and confirmed that there were only 4 blood tribe divine lords and a few hundred high gods on the mountain peak. He immediately released his aura and flew toward the mountain peak. Destroying the blood-colored spirit design was the goal of this trip, but it was rare to meet God Realm cultivators in the blood-colored territory. He did not hesitate to choose to rescue them at the first opportunity. "Divine Lord? Which divine king's divine monarch are you? Why have you barged into this place alone? Run quickly. This is the habitat of the blood-colored spirit design. Without the divine king's strength, you won't be able to return." One of the divine lords bound by the blood-colored chains noticed that the saber that was about to cut his neck had been blocked by Yi Shang before he was decapitated. While he rejoiced, he immediately shouted a warning. "Since we have met, it's fate. I will do my best to save you." Night Sorrow did not pay attention to the Divine Lord's warning. After all, his real goal was to destroy the blood-colored spirit design. It was inevitable that he would encounter a Divine Lord or the Divine King. Save what? Run quickly. Leave before the blood-colored spirit design is alerted. The other Sir God, who was bound, roared as his expression changed. Chapter 2797. Kill the Intruder. A god lord from the Scarlet Territory immediately issued a kill order after discovering Yi Shang's figure. His name was Xuesha and he was the leader of these people. At the same time, Xuesha sent a message to the Divine King of the Bloody Territory. From his point of view, informing a godly king was enough to deal with a godly lord like Yi Shang. Run. Xuesha must have informed the Divine King. It won't be long before the Divine King of the Bloody Territory arrives. Combined with the blood origin source, you will definitely die. Divine Lord Mozia, who was bound, shouted angrily. In his opinion, Night Sorrow was walking into a trap and would die for no reason. No worries. Even if the Divine King arrives, I'll save all of you. Night Sorrow did not arrogantly say it out loud. Instead, he sent a message to everyone in the divine world, hoping that they would feel at ease. However, these people did not believe that he could fight the Divine King and the Origin's will. They all advised him to escape immediately. Kill. At the same time, the Sir Gods and many high gods of the Bloody Territory surrounded Night Sorrow. After Xuesha spoke, a few more Sir Gods appeared at the peak of the mountain. In addition to the previous few, the number of Sir Gods in the Bloody Territory had reached 10. The restrained people of the divine world all sighed. After all, in the eyes of ordinary people, it was almost impossible for one to fight against 10 cultivators of the same level. The 10 Sir Gods of the Bloody Territory looked like they were made of blood. When they attacked Night Sorrow, they all turned into water droplets and hid in the void. The most peculiar thing was that when the 10 of them attacked, they formed a complete group. They turned into giants and attacked Night Sorrow fiercely. They were at the same cultivation level as Night Sorrow, so their words were ineffective. However, Night Sorrow used his words to suppress all the high gods present, and combined them to attack the 10 Sir Gods. Forbidden Reincarnation Spear. Night Sorrow took out his reincarnation Heavenly Halberd, and threw out the Forbidden Reincarnation Spear. This move had been improved several times and was close to perfection. As for the Samsara Heavenly Halberd, it was already at the half-step ruler level. It had a great advantage against divine lords. After the Forbidden Reincarnation Spear was thrown out, it even had the intention of shaking the bloody mountain. The 10 blood monarchs were immediately disintegrated by the bombardment. The attack they had just launched did not even touch the corner of Night Sorrow's clothes. This kind of strength is already on par with the Divine King, right? Seeing Night Sorrow unleash such a powerful attack, God Monarch Mozia of the God Realm immediately praised. He wasn't the only one. The other high gods and monarchs of the God Realm were also staring at the scene with wide eyes. He should be as strong as the Divine King. A divine monarch against a divine king. This was a genius that had never appeared in the divine realm before. Maybe he has the ability to save us. Zhong Lingxiao, another god monarch, was also encouraged by Night Sorrow's attack. The enemy in front of us is obviously stronger than us. Quick, activate the blood formation. Xuesha, the leader of the god monarchs, saw Night Sorrow's attack and divine weapon and immediately understood that he was in existence that no god monarch could resist. He ordered his subordinates to activate the blood formation. However, the blood monarchs were all under Night Sorrow's control. They grouped together and attacked another blood monarch. These blood-colored gods were weak individually, but there were too many of them. When they worked together, their attack power was enough to strike fear into the hearts of the blood-colored sovereigns. Bastard! What kind of move is this? Xuesha, who had given the order, saw that the blood monarchs were out of control and listened to Night Sorrow. He immediately disappeared into the void and chose to activate the blood formation himself. The blood formation? Night Sorrow wanted to stop Xuesha from activating the formation, but he was besieged by the other god monarchs. In terms of strength, these god monarchs were worlds apart from Night Sorrow, but their moves were very special. Not only could they fuse together, but they could also scatter and seep into the soil. When they suddenly exerted their strength, they had already turned into thousands of god monarchs. What a strange move. While Knight Sorrow resisted, he opened the eye of the sea serpent to observe the enemy's position and changes. Because the blood monarchs had special moves, he did not have time to stop Shueisha from activating his movement technique. Moreover, he had completely risen from the ground into the void. Boom! Boom! Knight Sorrow rose into the void and broke the blood monarch's attacks again and again. Suddenly, thunder began to rumble in the void. Be careful of the blood rain. This formation contains the aura of the blood origin. Even the Divine King might not be able to last long in this formation. Seeing that Knight Sorrow did not stop the formation from activating, Zhong Lingxiao immediately shouted worriedly. These god monarchs of the divine world are really scared out of their wits by the people of the blood territory. It wasn't like this when I was training. Seeing Zhong Lingxiao's reaction, Long Ke King, who was in the clear sky pagoda, could not help but let out a sigh. They didn't do anything wrong. The god monarchs of the divine world might not have high standards, so Long Ke King's words were a little angry. However, Knight Sorrow did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. At the very least, they knew how to worry about their companions. This proved that their minds had not been corrupted by the blood territory. If he rescued them, he would obtain a lot of useful information. At this moment, the void that was originally filled with thunder and lightning suddenly became quiet. Then several incomparably beautiful blood clouds floated over. These blood clouds had a very strong evil aura. When it floated above Yichang, a dense rain of blood immediately fell. Many of the god monarchs of the blood territory, including Shueisha, merged into the blood rain. Following the blood rain, they attacked Knight Sorrow. Why do I feel that your blood territory should change its name to Bloodwater territory? Knight Sorrow raised his head and looked up at the void. Until now, he had not used his full strength. Facing the blood rain that poured down, he looked at the people of the divine world who were bound. He judged that if the blood rain poured down like this, the god monarchs and high gods of the divine world would definitely encounter a great disaster. Therefore, Knight Sorrow struck the void with raging flames, demon subduing. The flames that suddenly appeared purified the blood water in the sky. Then he roared out the green rock soul-splitting roar into the void, shaking all the god monarchs of the blood territory out of the void. Although Knight Sorrow had not even activated the Treastrimsa battle mystic technique, he had completely taken the initiative. Very good. Although you are a god monarchs, you have the strength of the Divine King. The Divine King likes to devour cultivators with tricks like you. When Knight Sorrow suppressed all the god monarchs of the blood territory, a sudden roar came from the void. Clearly, the Divine King of the blood territory had arrived. The Divine King has arrived? I wonder how many there are. Fighting against the god monarchs, Knight Sorrow did not even sweat. He easily held the initiative and protected everyone in the divine world. Chapter 2798. Blood Clan's Sky Swallowing Technique. Knight Sorrow was full of fighting spirit, while the Divine King from the bloody territory was obviously more irritable. He had just sized up Knight Sorrow for a while before he used his ultimate technique. He was originally in human form, but after using the Blood Clan's Sky Swallowing Technique, he immediately turned into a blurry blood-red color. After the blood-red color appeared, it immediately spread above the void and almost covered the entire sky. What kind of trick is this? The spreading blood-red color covered the entire sky. Knight Sorrow was a little surprised. He activated the sea serpent's eye to observe, but couldn't see the other party's intention. He also couldn't find a chance to attack. Fighting with a foreign race was different from fighting with enemies from the divine world. While he was observing, he asked, Dragon Sparrow King, you fought with the Blood Clan before. Do you know what he's doing? Dragon Sparrow King, who was in the clear sky pagoda, frowned and said, I've met a Divine King before, but he didn't use this so-called Blood Clan Sky Swallowing Technique. I can't see through his technique. Fire Phoenix King, what about you? Have you heard of a similar technique? Knight Sorrow continued to ask. The Divine King from the bloody territory had used the Blood Clan's Sky Swallowing Technique, and his aura was very majestic. He used the blood-red color to completely cover the sky. However, he didn't release his willpower and didn't attack. This made Lin Feng very surprised. I've never encountered such a technique either. However, you still have to be careful when he uses such a technique. Fire Phoenix King reminded him worriedly. I will. Knight Sorrow nodded and continued to look at the sky. At this moment, the Divine King from the Bloody Territory had completely covered the entire sky. Blood Clan's Sky Swallowing Technique. At this moment, the Divine King of the Blood Clan roared again with his blood-red eyes. After he roared, some of the Blood Clan's divine lords and exalted gods turned into blood water and flew into the sky as if they had evaporated. Sky Swallowing Technique? Is it to devour one's own kind to increase one's strength? Knight Sorrow was still a little surprised when he saw the situation in front of him. He thought for a while and used the heavenly halberd of Samsara to test the waters. He wanted to see if he could interrupt Blood Eye's heaven-devouring art. However, after Knight Sorrow used the heavenly Samsara halberd to unleash the Inferno demon-slaying technique, it was also swallowed up by the red cloud created by the Blood Eye. After swallowing the raging flames from the Samsara halberd, the density of the blood clouds increased significantly. It seems that this blood cloud has the ability to devour. While Knight Sorrow was judging Shui Yun's ability, he held the Samsara halberd tightly and was ready to attack. Meanwhile, Blood Eye laughed coldly and said, "Stop resisting. You have no chance against this King's Blood Clan Sky Swallowing Technique. Because as long as it was within the range of the blood cloud, anything would be devoured by this king, including you." After the Blood Eye King's voice was heard, a cold wind blew in the blood cloud. Everything in the area covered by the blood cloud flew up into the sky. This included the captured Sir Gods and High Gods in the realm of the gods. Sky Swallowing Technique? Devour everything in the area covered by the blood cloud? Knight Sorrow muttered to himself and shouted, "I'll satisfy you. I'll give you the best thing and see if you can devour it." As he spoke, he took out the Tianyan bow and turned the power of virtue into an arrow and shot it towards the blood cloud. Sovereign Grade Artifact. After Knight Sorrow took the Tianyan bow from his back, it let out a loud roar. It also emitted a blinding yellow light. It lit up the blood-red world. Blood Eye immediately saw that Knight Sorrow had taken the Sovereign Grade Artifact. He shouted with envy. He used the Sky Swallowing Technique to attract the Tianyan bow and tried to devour it. You want to devour the Sovereign Grade Artifact? Let's see if you can resist the power of virtue. By the time Knight Sorrow responded to the Blood Eye, the arrow formed by the power of merit had already struck the blood cloud. The moment the power of virtue arrow hit the blood cloud, the golden power of virtue was quickly devoured by the blood cloud. After a short while, the blood cloud that covered the sky spat out the golden power of virtue arrow. Clearly, the blood cloud formed by Blood Eye could not resist the power of virtue arrow. Power of virtue. How can there be such a thing in this world? Impossible. This is impossible. Blood Eye, who had a part of the blood cloud purified by the power of virtue arrow, found it unbelievable. Nothing is impossible. After realizing that the power of virtue arrow was effective against the blood cloud, Knight Sorrow used his deity domain to bind Emozia and the others so that they would not be sucked away by the blood cloud. At the same time, he shot out another 3 power of virtue arrows, in addition to the previous one, for arrows pierced through the thick blood cloud. Soon, the blood cloud was almost completely purified. The entire sky was dominated by gold. Damn it! How can there be such a strange power? The Blood Eye Monarch, who had originally thought that he could defeat Knight Sorrow, cursed angrily and immediately summoned, "Blood Origin, lend me a hand." Blood Eye King, you can't even deal with a celestial. You are really disappointing. It seems like you are not qualified to be the clan leader of the Blood Tribe. The Blood Will was summoned, but it did not appear. Instead, a gloomy voice came from the void. The blood-colored mountain peak beneath the feet of Yishang, and the rest trembled slightly. Could the blood mountain under my feet be the blood origin? When he thought of this, Yishan immediately leaped into the air. Merit Celestial of the deity world, you have discovered my existence, but it is too late for you to escape. As soon as Knight Sorrow raised his voice, The blood mountain under his feet split open into a huge mouth and swallowed Night Sorrow and the people of the deity world. What is going on? Lord Night Sorrow, are you still alive? After Night Sorrow was swallowed by the blood origin, everything around him turned blood red. Dragon Sparrow King, who was in the clear heaven pagoda, asked worriedly, I won't die so easily. Hearing Dragon Sparrow King's voice transmission, Night Sorrow replied snappily. After being swallowed by the blood origin, he was surrounded by a bloody stench. Regardless of whether it was the environment or the smell, it was nauseating. He was very unhappy. If you are not injured, quickly think of a way to get out. Dragon Sparrow King reminded. I have heard that the things that are swallowed by the blood origin will quickly become its replenishment. I am thinking of a way. Suddenly being swallowed, Night Sorrow's first reaction was to think of a way to get out. After replying to Dragon Sparrow King, he held the Samsara halberd in his hand and waved it continuously, trying to dig a way out. However, in the bloody stench, he dug for a long time but could not find any end, let alone escape. Cultivators who have been swallowed by the blood origin will not be able to escape. Give up struggling and prepare to turn into a pool of blood. The Scarlet Origin sent a cold voice transmission when it saw that Yishang was constantly digging. This is really strange. Night Sorrow, who had failed to dig continuously, suddenly stopped. Chapter 2799. It was because Tianyun Bao needed to absorb the power of blood to activate it. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow said to himself, I wonder if Tianyun Bao can absorb blood of this grade. The blood-colored origin had swallowed them into the blood-colored world in front of them. It was not easy to escape. Night Sorrow planned to let Tianyun Bao absorb all the blood around him. Buzz. When Night Sorrow transmitted his thoughts to Tianyun Bao, he poured a large amount of blood and virtuous energy into Tianyun Bao. He was afraid that Tianyun Bao would be demonized by the evil attribute if he absorbed too much evil blood. After absorbing a large amount of blood and virtuous energy, Tianyun Bao shook violently and was directly activated. After being activated, Tianyun Bao immediately followed Night Sorrow's instructions and crazily absorbed the blood around him. It instantly absorbed a large amount of blood like a whale swallowing. Stop first. After absorbing a large amount of blood, Tianyun Bao's aura became much stronger. At this time, Night Sorrow asked Tianyun Bao to stop. He checked and found that Tianyun Bao was not affected by the evil blood, so he ordered him to continue absorbing it. What's going on? After Tianyun Bao absorbed a large amount of blood, the blood-colored origin immediately roared. It did not expect that the Dominator divine weapon in Night Sorrow's hand could absorb so much blood. What's going on? You can absorb other people's blood, but you can't accept others absorbing your blood? Night Sorrow, who was still trapped, was no longer as depressed as before because he saw a path. After Tianyun Bao was released again, he immediately absorbed the blood energy around him even more crazily. In the blink of an eye, the blood origin was sucked away and fled. As the blood-colored origin, it could accumulate so much blood and become a blood-colored mountain. It had absorbed a lot of blood from the deity realm cultivators. Now Tianyun Bao was even more tyrannical than it. He was swallowing like a whale. This caused the Crimson Origin to panic. Devour the blood clouds in the sky. While the blood-colored origin fled frantically, Night Sorrow saw that the blood-colored cloud formed by the blood-colored eye was still in the sky. He immediately told Tianyun Bao to absorb the blood clouds in the sky. After being absorbed by Tianyun Bao, Shui Yun, who had been waiting for an opportunity to attack, quickly felt despair. Ordinary deity realm cultivators rarely had the means to restrain the Crimson Territory when they fought against them. The current Tianyun Bao was like a natural nemesis. After a large amount of blood was absorbed by him, the blood eye chose to escape just like the blood origin. Trying to escape? Do you have the chance? Seeing that blood eye wanted to escape, Yishan immediately cast a virtuous dragon-locking array at him in his human form. After binding him, he immediately let Tianyun Bao absorb all the blood energy in his body. Poor Blood Eye, a divine king, was directly absorbed by Tianyun Bao before he could unleash his power. Tianyun Bao was simply the nemesis of blood. Isn't this a little too miraculous? Mo Zia, Zhong Lingxiao and the others, who had been saved by Night Sorrow, couldn't believe their eyes after seeing Tianyin Bao's power. The Blood Eye, the powerful divine king of the Crimson Territory, was actually sucked to death by a deity weapon. If this matter was told to the deity realm, no one would believe it. In fact, it wasn't just them. Even the Fire Phoenix King, and the Dragon Sparrow King and the Clear Sky Pagoda were stunned. Although Tianyin Bao was a Dominator-grade deity weapon, it was still a little exaggerated to say that he had directly sucked a divine king to death. Sucking a divine king to death is nothing. Next, let's directly destroy the Crimson Origin. Only Night Sorrow was very calm. After saying that, he looked at Emozia, Zhong Lingxiao, and the others and said, "You guys wait for me here for a while. I'll be back soon. Don't move, wait for me here. I'll be back soon." After saying that, Night Sorrow set up a simple concealment array and flew into the sky. He, who had learned the Horn Race's tracking technique, could sense the general location of the Crimson Origin, and directly chased after it. Emozia, Zhong Lingxiao, and the others who were standing in place, all felt that this was a little surreal. They had never imagined that the Blood Eye Territory's origin would be hunted down. "Where are you running to? Die." Night Sorrow, who had activated the Treastrimsa battle mystic technique, and used the dragon roaming heaven steps, quickly caught up to the Crimson Origin, which wasn't very fast. He sent out Tianyin Bao again, and let him absorb the Crimson Origin's energy. The Crimson Origin, which was entangled by Tianyin Bao, had thousands of methods, but it couldn't use any of them. It didn't even have the mood to summon the Crimson Territory's Divine King. This was because Tianyin Bao's characteristics restrained the entire Crimson Territory. Tianyin Bao is indeed worthy of being a sovereign divine weapon. Seeing that the Crimson Origin didn't have the ability to resist at all, the Dragon Sparrow King in the Clear Sky Pagoda was secretly pleased and said, "I was a little worried at first, but now it seems that the Crimson Territory is the easiest to deal with. We're lucky this time. It just so happens that Tianyin Bao restrains them. Otherwise, the Crimson Origin wouldn't be easy to deal with." Night Sorrow wasn't overly excited. While Tianyin Bao was suppressing the Crimson Origin, he had been vigilant of his surroundings, on guard against a sneak attack from an opponent at the level of the Divine King. However, the Crimson Origin's will was clear that the Crimson Territory's Divine King was naturally restrained. Even if all of them came, it would be useless. While its energy was being crazily absorbed, it used a secret technique to disintegrate itself into countless blood droplets and spread some information about Night Sorrow and Tianyin Bao. Very soon, the Crimson Origin was completely eliminated by Tianyin Bao, and the various divine kings and divine lords of the Crimson Territory were immediately weakened. They no longer posed any threat to the divine world. However, after the Crimson Origin's propaganda, the matter of Night Sorrow outside the divine world was completely exposed. Moreover, the matter of the Dark Territory's origin being destroyed was also found out by the other territories. After investigating these matters, the people of the 5 territories mercilessly separated the Crimson Territory and the Dark Territory. The opponents of the Divine World territories also changed from 7 to 5 territories. As for the 5 great territories, excluding the 5 great essences, there were roughly 15 God Kings. If the Divine World included Night Sorrow, it would only be in the single digits. In terms of combat strength, the Divine King was still at a disadvantage. However, with the addition of Night Sorrow, the cultivators below the Divine King of the 5 territories no longer had any influence on the Divine World. Moreover, they were likely to be of help in the battle. After thinking about Night Sorrow, he felt that at this time, he had been completely exposed. He might as well bring Emozia, Zhong Lingxiao, and the others to the Divine World territories and fight the 5 territories together with the cultivators of the Divine World. However, after the Crimson Origin exposed him and Tianyin Bao, the top combat strength of the 5 territories all rushed to the Crimson Territory. Chapter 2800. After Zhong Lingxiao finished speaking, the atmosphere in the Heaven and Earth Spirit Gathering Array was heavy and sorrowful. Night Sorrow said, "If everyone believes me, then fight with all your might. You will die today, but as long as the array is not destroyed, you will be reborn one day. Not a single one will be left behind." "Ah, We can be reborn after dying in this array? Really? Hearing Yishang's words, Mozia looked at him suspiciously, wanting to confirm the truth of the matter. Of course it's real. I have a friend who was reborn endlessly in the heaven and earth spirit gathering array. However, the feeling of death is real every time. Night Sorrow explained to Mozia, then looked at the crowd and said, "From the looks of it, if we fight, I won't be able to handle all of you. Sorry. You've already done enough for us. Don't put too much on us." Zhong Lingxiao had a carefree smile on his face as he spoke to Yishang. Then he turned to the crowd and said, "Let's go. Follow me, don't be a burden." He meant to leave Night Sorrow as soon as possible. If a great battle broke out and they were a burden, it would be extremely disadvantageous for Night Sorrow. Everyone take care. Night Sorrow waved at Zhong Lingxiao and the others as they left. They're here. The armies of the 5 territories are all here. After sending Zhong Lingxiao and the others away, Night Sorrow stood alone in the array and saw smoke rising from 5 directions. The troops of the myriad miasma, soul-slaying, poison heart, 1,000 wasps, and heavenly diabolism territories were rushing over from 5 different directions. In each team, there were at least 2 God Kings' existences. The myriad miasma territory was formed by a strange miasma between heaven and earth. The 2 divine kings, 10,000 wrath and 10,000 resentment, were in human form, but they were fundamentally different from the cultivators of the God realm. The leaders of the soul-slaying territory, Soul 1, Soul 3, and Soul 15, were all evil mutated beasts in human form. As for the people in Poison Heart territory, they cultivated from the myriad poison soul. The 1,000 wasps territory and the heavenly diabolism territory were made up of 1,000 demon wasps and demons respectively. Standing in the heaven and earth spirit gathering array, Night Sorrow, who was holding the Tianyan bow, looked in 5 directions with the eye of the Mirage Dragon. Then he took a deep breath and prepared for battle. We're here. Who's going to make a move first? The Divine King of the Myriad Miasma Domain, who had arrived in front of the Heaven and Earth Assembly formation, was the first to speak. He could see that Night Sorrow was the only one in the formation. The Tianyun bow in Night Sorrow's hands made him extremely jealous. When he heard Wan Ru's words, the leader of the soul-slaughtering estate, Hun Yi, immediately replied coldly, "Of course we will attack together. As for the ruler artifact, it will belong to whoever manages to snatch it. Everyone, what do you think? Good. Just like that. Let's kill the deity realm cultivators inside first. Then we'll figure out who the sovereign god artifact belongs to." The Demon King, who was the strongest among them, glanced at the Divine King and said coldly, "Very good. Since everyone thinks this is a good idea, then let's attack. If I'm not wrong, the deity realm cultivator is just a Sir God." As the leader of the 1,000 Peaks territory, the 1,000 Demon Wasp King spoke. He ordered all the 1,000 demon wasps under him to attack the barrier of the formation. However, when the 1,000 demon wasps pounced on the heaven and earth spirit gathering array, they realized that they could not touch the barrier of the formation at all. All the 1,000 demon wasps that had pounced on them flew into the formation. Seeing the situation in front of him, the 1,000 demon wasp king said coldly, "Kill." What he meant was to let the 1,000 demon wasps under him test the limits of Night Sorrow's strength. It could be considered a suicide attack. If the Divine King comes in, he won't be able to do anything at all. Night Sorrow, who was floating quietly in the air, was surrounded by the brilliance of the power of virtue. When the 1,000 demon wasps had attacked, he had waved his sleeves and killed all of them. However, although this wave of his sleeves looked domineering, it was actually him using the law of speech to kill these 1,000 demon wasps with his mouth. However, in the eyes of the Divine King, Night Sorrow had killed these 1,000 demon wasps with a wave of his sleeves. He was very powerful. You have some strength. You are worthy of this queen personally taking action. Seeing that Night Sorrow had killed the 1,000 demon wasps, the 1,000 demon wasp queen beside the 1,000 demon wasp king immediately rushed into the formation. "Wasp queen, how can my 1,000 resentment not be involved in snatching the sovereign divine weapon?" After the 1,000 demon wasp queen flew into the heaven and earth spirit gathering array, the 1,000 resentment of the 1,000 miasma territory immediately followed. Obviously, none of the territories could stand by and watch people from other territories snatch the sovereign divine weapon. After the two of them flew into the heaven and earth spirit gathering array, the other 3 territories each sent a divine king. In the eyes of the leaders, 5 divine kings against 1 divine lord, Night Sorrow, was already an extremely luxurious lineup. There was no need for more divine kings to take action. 5 divine kings. Very good. I, Night Sorrow, will fight you 5 divine kings today. Seeing that each of the 5 territories had sent a divine king into the heaven and earth spirit gathering array, Night Sorrow roared and directly activated the 33 Skies Battle Mystic technique to increase his strength. Then, he directly used the Green Rock soul-rending roar to attack the 5 divine kings. Haha, not a bad divine soul attack, but to this king, it is just child's play. The divine king of the Poison Heart territory, Poison Frost, was not affected by the Green Rock soul-rending roar at all. He directly spat out a strong poisonous gas at Night Sorrow. This poisonous gas was dark green. Wherever it passed, even the mountains were corroded, let alone the flowers and trees. The poison is indeed very strong, but in the heaven and earth spirit gathering array, your attack is useless. In the face of Poison Frost's dark green poisonous gas, Night Sorrow immediately activated the Great Spirit Gathering formation of heaven and earth. In an instant, the poisonous gas was absorbed by the heaven and earth spirit gathering array, leaving no trace behind. You have some ability, but it's not enough. Duh. At this moment, the 1000 Demon Queen Bee, who was slightly affected by the Green Rock soul-rending roar, aggressively attacked Night Sorrow. At this moment, she was in human form, holding a slender needle-shaped divine weapon, Forbidden Spear. Facing the attack of the 1000 Demon Queen Bee, Night Sorrow used the Samsara Halberd to launch the Forbidden Spear. At the same time, he used the Virtuous Dragon Locking Array. The 1000 Demon Queen Bee, who was temporarily restrained by the Virtuous Dragon Locking Array, was trapped in a sealed space together with the needle-shaped divine weapon in her hand. The halberd radiance from the Samsara halberd suddenly blasted into the space. This attack caused the 1000 Demon Queen Bee to be severely injured. The 1000 Demon Queen Bee was only a lower divine king. Not only was she considered weak among the divine kings of the 5 territories, but she was also a divine king. Although Night Sorrow's cultivation was only a middle divine lord, his true strength was much stronger than hers. After being hit by the Samsara halberd, the 1000 Demon Queen Bee immediately spat out green blood. This divine lord definitely has the strength of a divine king. All of you, attack together. After killing her, we will discuss how to divide the divine weapons. Chapter 2801. Good. I agree with the Een Demon King. In order to avoid trouble, all of you attack together and kill him quickly. After the strongest Een Demon King spoke, the 1000 Demonic Bee King gave the order coldly. The 1000 Demonic Bee King was furious that Night Sorrow was stronger than the 1000 Demonic Bee King, and had even injured it. Good. I also agree. All of you attack together. We don't have to care about our reputation when fighting against a deity realm cultivator. The leader of the Myriad Miasma territory, One Raging, also agreed. After the leaders gave their orders, the 5 Divine King immediately surrounded Night Sorrow. At the same time, the 1000 Demonic Bee King, who was furious that Night Sorrow had attacked the 1000 Demonic Bee King, sent out 10 Divine Monarch level 1000 Demonic Bees and countless deity level 1000 Demonic Bees to help. The 1000 Demonic Bees were not strong individually, but they were very good at fighting in groups. When the 1000 Demonic Bee army came out, the sky buzzed. TSKSK, 1000 Demonic Bee King, we sent out 5 Divine King, which is enough to crush him. Under such circumstances, you still sent out half of your army. Aren't you afraid of losses? Seeing the 1000 Demonic Bee King send out a huge army of 1000 Demonic Bees, the Een Demon King said maliciously. In her opinion, the 1000 Demonic Bee King sent the army in advance to help snatch the sovereign divine weapon Tianyan Bao. Hearing this, the 1000 Demonic Bee King said coldly, he dared to injure the queen bee of this king, so he will have to suffer the cruelest punishment. This king sent out the 1000 Demonic Bee army to eat his flesh and bones. He will not participate in the snatching of the sovereign divine weapon. Good. I hope you will do as you say. After the 1,000 demonic bee king finished explaining, the demon king snorted and did not speak again. She fixed her gaze on Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow was under a lot of pressure facing the 5 divine king. He wanted to activate the heaven and earth energy gathering array and use Tianyan Bao. However, at this moment, the 1,000 demonic bee king sent out the 1,000 demonic bee army. Seeing this, a smile appeared on Night Sorrow's face. Without the slightest hesitation, he used the absolute law on the 1,000 demon bees in the 1,000 demon bee army that were below the divine monarch realm. Let them all self-destruct. Although these self-destructing 1,000 demon bees were all at the high deity level, there were too many of them. The sudden explosion had caught everyone, except for Night Sorrow, off guard. A loud explosion was heard at the same time. The 1,000 demon queen bee, which was the closest to the explosion, was instantly killed. Wan Yuan and the other 4 divine king were also injured to varying degrees. As for the Sir Gods in the 1,000 demon bee army, they didn't even have the chance to make a sound before they were killed by the explosion. Amazing! How did Lord Night Sorrow manage to kill a divine king and heavily injure 4 others in one go? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Emozia, who was hidden in the depths of the heaven and earth spirit gathering array, sighed when he saw Night Sorrow quietly floating in the air. This tremendous power was simply earth-shattering, and it brought him a great shock. This might be what he meant when he said that his words were law. Those of a lower realm than him won't be able to resist at all. Zhong Lingxiao deduced. During their conversation, Night Sorrow had mentioned some details to them. He had mentioned that he would use his words to destroy all the armies below the Sir God level in the 5 territories. It sounded unbelievable, but it was indeed happening. Bastard! You're courting death for killing my queen bee. The 1,000 demon queen bee had been killed and half of her subordinates had been killed. The 1,000 demon queen bee was enraged. She turned into a huge bee and flew into the heaven and earth spirit gathering array, wanting to kill Night Sorrow directly. The demon king and the others saw the 1,000 demon queen bee fly in directly. They were afraid that Tianyan Bao would snatch it away, so they immediately rushed into the heaven and earth spirit gathering array with him. At this moment, they were very afraid of Night Sorrow's methods. They ordered everyone below the divine king to stay away from the area covered by the array. In their opinion, Night Sorrow was using the array to make the 1,000 demon bee army self-destruct. You want to attack as a group? You'd better experience what it means to be shocked first. At this moment, Night Sorrow saw the 1,000 demon queen bee and the other divine king rushing over, and used his words again. He detonated all the armies below the Sir God level in the 5 territories, killing almost all the Sir Gods present. Even 2 of the divine king would die. Damn it, what kind of method is this? The divine king who had been rushing toward Night Sorrow and wanted to snatch the Tianyan Bao. After all the high gods in the 5 territories self-destructed, they were dumbfounded. Thousands of people had surrounded Night Sorrow, but now it was a dozen against 1. The change in quantity was simply too great. We have to snatch the ruler divine weapon. Otherwise, our demon race will definitely decline. We won't even be able to protect the heavenly diabolism territory. The demon king, who was strong in the 5 territories, didn't have a trace of pity when she saw her subordinates dying. She was still thinking about how to snatch the ruler divine weapon from Tianyan Bao. She was very cold. The leaders of the other 4 territories, other than the furious 1,000 demon queen bee, were also very calm. It was as if losing the army behind them was nothing to them. This is a miracle. Our God realm territory is saved. Zhong Lingxiao saw everything that was happening and immediately transmitted her voice to Emozia excitedly. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We have to do something. Do something? With our strength, I'm afraid we can't help much. Emozia sighed slightly. Although there were only a dozen divine king left in the 5 territories, their combat strength was quite terrifying. To Emozia, Zhong Lingxiao, and the others, they were existences that could completely crush them. Our strength is definitely not enough to fight the divine king. But we can send a message to the God realm territory. Let a few experts come to support us. Zhong Lingxiao said excitedly. He asked, Do you think I'll get such a good opportunity in the God realm? That makes sense. What you said makes sense. We have to do this. Hearing Zhong Lingxiao's words, Emozia's eyes lit up. After analyzing the situation, he opened his mouth and said, "The experts of these territories are basically all besieging Lord Night Sorrow. We can hurry back to the God World territory and ask for help. But I think there are too many people. It's most suitable for the two of us to go." Good. That's the way it should be. Zhong Lingxiao nodded and continued. Let's not delay. Let's go. Then he transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. Lord Night Sorrow, your methods are amazing. I, Zhong Lingxiao, am impressed that you defeated so many experts of the other races. Don't worry, you're not fighting alone here. Xia and I will go and ask for help. Will the experts of the God realm come to support us? Chapter 2802. Although 2 of the 7 origins of the Divine Realm's territories had been destroyed, the defensive arrays of the Divine Realm's territories could still be destroyed. Right now, cooperating with Yishan to fight to the death was definitely the best choice. However, Emozia and Zhong Lingxiao might not be able to explain the situation clearly. Hearing Night Sorrow's doubts, Zhong Lingxiao replied, "As long as we arrive safely, I will definitely have a way to do it." You guys go. However, although the elites of the Divine Realm have been wiped out, it's not absolutely safe outside. You guys have to be careful. As Night Sorrow replied, the 1,000 demon bees attack had already arrived. He no longer had the energy to deal with Emozia and Zhong Lingxiao. He immediately wielded the Samsara halberd and started fighting. Almost all the high gods and divine lords present had been wiped out, and the Divine King had fallen as well. In the void, the power of merit continuously surged into Night Sorrow's body. His power of merit increased once again, and it was about to rise from a middle-level divine lord to a high-level divine lord. This speed of improvement was unprecedented in the Divine Realm. Forbidden Spear. The power of merit increased rapidly, and Night Sorrow's Forbidden Spear was accompanied by a large amount of power of merit. Boom. The first to arrive was the 1,000 Demon Bee. Its tyrannical attack was immediately blocked by Night Sorrow. It could be seen that the 1,000 Demon Bee's strength wasn't very strong. Its strength should be due to some special methods. However, due to the 1,000 Demon Wasp Monarch's frenzy, it managed to save the injured God Kings. Night Sorrow simply didn't have the time to deal with them. After blocking the 1,000 Demon Bee's attack, Night Sorrow realized that the other Divine King, including the Een Demon Queen, were all attacking him. Facing the attacks of almost 10 Divine Kings, no matter how strong Night Sorrow was, it was impossible for him to take them head-on with the strength of a Divine Lord. He immediately used an escape technique in the array. Furthermore, after Emozia and Zhong Lingxiao left the Heaven and Earth Energy Gathering Array, the array that was already activated was completely activated. The real show is about to begin. After activating the Heaven and Earth Energy Gathering Array, Night Sorrow carried the Samsara halberd on his back and held the Tianyun bow in his hand. He continuously shot the arrow of merit at a few Divine Kings. At this moment, the Tianyun bow had just absorbed the blood-colored origin and was completely activated. Yi Shan's attack was already strong, and his power of virtue was even stronger than before. The 11 arrows of the Divine King's Divine Lord level Divine Lord's level Divine Lord's Divine Lord. Although the Een Demon King and the others were a little wary of the arrow of virtue, they still relied on their strength to catch it. However, the 2 lower Divine Kings present were not so lucky. They were shot by the arrow of virtue and were directly annihilated in the void. His Divine Lord's Divine Lord absorbed origin Divine's Divine Origin. Divine's SSSS. The other portion was converted into power of virtue and replenished Night Sorrow's body. This made the divine essence energy and power of virtue within Night Sorrow's body not suffer any depletion at all. Under these circumstances, Night Sorrow once again condensed the virtuous arrow and shot out the virtuous 5 elements arrow at the 1,000 Demon Queen Bee, who was not that powerful, like the Divine King. The power of a sovereign artifact is indeed extraordinary. Seeing the 5-element arrow shoot towards the 1,000 Demon Queen Bee, the Een Demon King revealed a joyful expression. He was extremely satisfied with the might of the Tianyun bow. However, at this moment he was still holding back. He did not immediately rush forward to fight Night Sorrow. Of course, this was to prevent Night Sorrow from targeting him. The leaders of the other territories also maintained a low profile. In their opinion, now was not the time to go all out. Otherwise, no matter how strong Night Sorrow was, he wouldn't have been able to resist the encirclement of the Divine King. In the battle, the Thousand Demon Queen Bee realized that the Divine King of the other territories did not go all out when facing the 5-element arrow. It looked like they were toying with the virtuous arrow shot by Night Sorrow. They were simply adding insult to injury and using Night Sorrow to get rid of the Thousand Demon Queen Bee. At this moment, the other 2 Divine King in the Thousand Demon Queen Bee's camp had both died. As long as the Thousand Demon Queen Bee was killed, another territory would be instantly destroyed, and the benefits they could divide would be even greater. You guys are simply despicable and shameless. The Thousand Demon Queen Bee was instantly enraged. She wanted to resist, but there was nothing she could do. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who had shot out the virtuous arrow, used the virtuous dragon lock formation to bind her within. The Thousand Demon Queen Bee, who was slightly distracted, suddenly realized that it was too late for her to break free. Stop, let go of this king. This king will help you deal with them. The Thousand Demon Queen Bee felt that she could no longer dodge the 5-element arrow shot by the sovereign artifact. She immediately gritted her teeth and sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Their race was extremely vengeful. Now their hatred for the other 4 territories had even surpassed that of Night Sorrow, who had killed the Thousand Demon Queen Bee. She did not want to die. She wanted to live and take revenge. You will help me deal with them? How can I trust you? After the 5-element arrow shot into the virtuous dragon lock formation, Night Sorrow stopped the attack temporarily to give the Thousand Demon Queen Bee a chance to speak. I, the Thousand Demon Queen Bee, swear that I will follow you forever and be your servant. Otherwise, I will be killed by the lightning. Is this enough? The Thousand Demon Queen Bee's tone was filled with intense hatred. Yes. Cooperate with me and attack that Divine King. Night Sorrow did not care about whether the Thousand Demon Queen Bee was sincere or not. He casually responded, and pointed to one of the Divine Kings in the Heavenly Diabolism territory. At this moment, under the powerful protection of the Demon Queen, there were still 3 uninjured Divine Kings in the Heavenly Diabolism territory. Night Sorrow wanted to use the Thousand Demon Queen Bee to quickly kill one of them. Otherwise, the strength of the Heavenly Diabolism territory would obviously surpass all the territories present. It was very likely that they had the ability to command the heroes. This was something he did not want to see. Currently, Night Sorrow felt that even if he had to risk his life, he had to take away a few Divine King-level characters. Therefore, he could not let the Heavenly Diabolism territory be the only one. Okay. I will cooperate with you to kill him. After the Thousand Demon Queen Bee sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow, she immediately shot 72 tail needles at one of the Divine King under the Demon Queen Bee. Every single one of these 72 tail arrays was extremely poisonous. When they shot towards the Demon Queen, they had already dyed the wind green. Thousand Demon Queen Bee, you actually dare to attack the people of my Heavenly Diabolism territory. Do you really think that my Heavenly Diabolism territory is easy to bully? Seeing the Thousand Demon Queen Bee attack his subordinates, the #1 expert of the Heavenly Diabolism territory, the Demon, immediately roared. What are you roaring for? Don't think that I can't see through the thoughts of the 4 territories. You want to silently get rid of this king? Then this king will show you what's good for you. The Thousand Demon Bee King, who had just escaped from Yi Shang's clutches, roared and transmitted a message to Yi Shang. Use the same attack that you just used. The evil monarch won't be able to withstand it. Okay. Chapter 2803. Devil King, Evil King, hurry and save me. Evil King could still hold on against the Thousand Demon Bee's 72 poisonous stingers. But at the same time, it was impossible for her to block Night Sorrow's arrow of virtue. She immediately called for help. You don't have to tell me that. The Devil King coldly replied, and then intercepted the arrow of virtue that Yi Shan had shot out. On the other side, Een Evil King cooperated with Een Evil King to block the 1,000 Demon Bees' 72 stingers. As for the Divine King of the other 3 territories, they were happy to watch the show and stopped attacking Night Sorrow. At this point, they were still confident that they could snatch Tianyun Bao from Night Sorrow's hands. Therefore they were not in a hurry. Not good. It seems that it will be very difficult to kill even the weakest one. Een Devil King and Een Evil King reacted very quickly. 1,000 Demon Bee, who originally wanted to quickly kill Een Evil King, immediately realized that things were difficult. Because of the addition of the 2 of them, the situation immediately reversed. Although Night Sorrow's arrow of virtue was a 5-element arrow, it was still neutralized by Een Devil King. He had a very strange divine artifact in his hand, the Divine Void Cloud. This Divine Void Cloud was a half-step sovereign artifact, but its power was very special. It directly absorbed Night Sorrow's 5-element arrow of virtue. When it was spat out, although the power of virtue was still there, it had lost its attacking power and floated back into Night Sorrow's body. Good move. As expected of the strongest of the few territories. Ever since he controlled Tianyun Bao, this was the first time Night Sorrow's 5-element arrow had been neutralized so easily. While he was astonished, he had to admit that Een Devil King was very strong. I'll give you a chance to live. Hand over the sovereign artifact and swear allegiance to this king. Looking at Night Sorrow, Een Devil King's aura was very terrifying. When she quietly floated in the air, she looked like a floating ghost. When she spoke, she did not open her mouth. Her voice seemed to come from the abyss of hell. Hee. Wanting me to submit to you is no different from a fantasy. Even if I die in battle, I, Night Sorrow, will fight you to the death. It's not that easy to get a sovereign artifact. Today's Night Sorrow was already prepared to die. After replying to the Een Demon King fearlessly, he used the Tianyun Bao to shoot out another 5-element arrow. While shooting the 5-element arrow, Night Sorrow held the Tianyun Bao in his hand and used it as a close-range divine weapon to attack the Evil King and Evil King who were suppressing the 1,000 Demon Queen Bee. The 1,000 Demon Bee King's strength was not strong to begin with, and all of his subordinates had been killed by Night Sorrow's explosion. At this moment, he was being suppressed very miserably and was about to be killed. Night Sorrow was looking forward to this unexpected ally of his. At the very least, he felt that he should trade him for the Divine King. This way he could disrupt the balance. When he faked his death, the remaining 4 territories would have a more intense battle. Night Sorrow waved the Tianyun Bao and joined the battle, just in time to help the 1,000 Demon Queen Bee King block the fatal attack of the Evil King. Using the Tianyun Bao as a close-range weapon, the effect was surprisingly good. It directly broke the trident that the Evil King brandished. This king's divine weapon. When the trident was sent flying by Night Sorrow, the Evil King immediately roared. On the other hand, the Evil King's expression did not change as he launched a sneak attack on Night Sorrow. He silently turned into an evil spirit and suddenly pounced on Night Sorrow, wanting to grab his divine soul. Facing the Evil King's attack, Night Sorrow directly used the power of virtue to attack, burning him and forcing him to retreat. At this moment, the Een Demon Queen used the Divine Void Cloud to dissolve the 5-element arrow and rushed over to help. It was a 3 versus 2 situation once again. After observing the situation, the Een Demon Queen coldly said, "People from the other territories, are you prepared to watch the show and wait for both sides to be injured before taking action to snatch the sovereign divine weapon?" The Een Demon Queen was clearly a shrewd person. After dealing with the sudden situation, she immediately questioned the Divine King of the other territories. What is the Een Demon Queen talking about? Everyone agreed to kill the ants first before discussing how to split the sovereign divine weapon. How can you go back on your words? After all, the Een Demon Queen was the strongest person present. After she spoke, the leader of the Soul Slaughter territory, Honey, immediately spoke. At the same time he said to his subordinate, the Divine King Hun San, "Let's do it." "Yes, Lord Soul King." After receiving Hun Yi's order, Hun San immediately replied. He once again held the divine weapon in his hand and joined the battle. We, the Myriad Miasma territory, are not people who like to take advantage of others. The leader of the Myriad Miasma territory, The divine king of myriad fury also spoke and asked his subordinate, Wan Shang, to help. Seeing that the divine king of the other two territories had all rejoined the battle, Poison Phoenix of the Poison Heart territory also brought the uninjured divine king, Du Han, to join in as well. They completely surrounded Night Sorrow and the Thousand Demon Queen Bee. As for the other territories, some of the injured divine king retreated from the battle and began to think of ways to heal their injuries. It was impossible to say which of the territories' divine king still had the ability to fight, because no one had the time to check. What should we do? Surrounded by so many people, the two of us can't even kill one of them. Being surrounded by so many divine king, the Thousand Demon Queen Bee's face instantly revealed a look of despair. At this time, Night Sorrow said with certainty, normally we will definitely die. There is no doubt about it. But I feel that before we die, we can exchange one or two of them. Oh, in this situation, we still have the chance to exchange one or two of them. Are you prepared to self-destruct the sovereign artifact? The Thousand Demon Queen Bee heard Night Sorrow's words and immediately asked doubtfully, I want to self-destruct, but I don't have the ability. The sovereign artifact in my hand has not recognized me as its master. Night Sorrow explained and continued, compared to me, you are completely capable of killing one or two of them. This king? This king does not have that ability. Hearing Night Sorrow's voice transmission, the Thousand Demon Queen Bee immediately sighed. You are really stupid. Think about it, isn't your death certain? Under such circumstances, what's the use of keeping the Thousand Demon Queen Bee's origin? Why aren't you summoning it to fight? Night Sorrow immediately reminded the Thousand Demon Queen Bee, who had not thought of its advantage at all. Yes. If this king dies in battle, the Thousand Demon Queen Bee's origin will definitely be divided among the other territories. Since that's the case, why not merge it into your body and fight to your heart's content? Night Sorrow's words made the Thousand Demon Queen Bee, who was originally in complete despair, suddenly have a thought. Thinking of this, it immediately summoned the Thousand Demon Queen Bee's origin. Under the unfavorable situation of many divine king attacking together, it completely merged with the Thousand Demon Queen Bee's origin. As the king of the Thousand Demon Queen Bee territory, after merging with the Thousand Demon Queen Bee's origin, its combat strength immediately increased by several times. Not good. Thousand Demon Queen Bee, prepare to go all out. The two of you must protect yourselves. Chapter 2804. The experienced and knowledgeable Demon King knew that with the strength of the Thousand Demon Bee's body, it wasn't suitable for him to fuse with all of the Thousand Bees' origin. His body wouldn't be able to withstand it at all. In the battle, the Thousand Demon Bee had chosen to completely fuse with the Thousand Bees' origin. He was definitely prepared to die. All of you, get ready, I'll drag a few of you along with me. After completely fusing with the Thousand Bees' origin, the Thousand Demon Bee had completely fused with the will of the Thousand Bees' origin. In his human form, there were already traces of cracks on the surface of his skin, and powerful energy kept seeping out. Seeing the state of the Thousand Demon Bee, the four divine kings of the four territories all hesitated. No one wanted to be the first to do so. What? Didn't you all attack this king directly because of the Demon King's order? Why aren't you continuing now? The completely crazy Thousand Demon Bee scanned the crowd and said coldly, next, this king is preparing to kill the Demon King of the Heavenly Diabolism territory. This king will fight to the death with whoever stops him first. Or are you trying to scare everyone? Don't be afraid of him. This king is already summoning the Heavenly Diabolism's origin. We aren't afraid of him at all. The Demon King, who didn't want to lose her subordinates, directly summoned 3 demons to attack the Thousand Demon Bee after the Thousand Demon Bee's threat. He wanted to use the summoned demon to replace the Thousand Demonic Bee King. This was a good plan. You want to use the demons to replace this king? You must be dreaming. The Thousand Demon Bee wasn't very strong among the divine kings, but after fusing with the Thousand Bees' origin, the strength he could unleash when going all out was probably even more terrifying than the Demon King. At the same time that the Demon King released the 3 God King level demons, The 1,000-demon queen bee crazily shot out 30-tail arrows at the 3 demons. The 30-tail arrows were overflowing with energy and directly nailed the 3 demons to death. This powerful aura immediately intimidated the many divine kings present. Evil King Een, the next one to be nailed to death is you. After nailing the 3 demons to death, the 1,000-demon queen bee once again locked its gaze on the divine king of the Een demon queen. Bastard! Are you targeting this king? Being targeted again, the evil king of the heavenly evil territory was completely enraged. He ignited the heavenly evil bloodline in his body. Although the leader and strongest person in the heavenly evil territory was the Een demon king. But the evil Een king had the noblest bloodline in the heavenly evil territory. After burning the blood in her body, the evil Een king's strength immediately increased. Yes, I have my eyes on you. So what? The 1,000-demon bee king, who had fused with the origin, knew that it would not live for long. Without hesitation, it immediately shot out 72 stingers at the evil Een king. This time, the number of stingers was exactly the same as last time, but the difference in power was like heaven and earth. Although the evil Een king had ignited her bloodline, she still revealed a look of fear when facing this attack. She could clearly feel that she wouldn't be able to receive it. Thus, he turned to look at the Een demon king. Don't worry, this king will save you. At this moment, the Een demon king moved in front of the evil Een king, and summoned the void divine cloud to receive the 72 stingers of the 1,000-demon bee king. If you receive those stingers, then you won't have the ability to break my 5-element arrow, right? At this moment, the temporarily silent Night Sorrow seized the opportunity and immediately condensed the power of virtue, using the Tianyun bow to shoot out the 5-element arrow. Currently, it was also the evil Een king. Why are they all targeting this king? Facing the 5-element arrow of virtue shot out by Night Sorrow, the evil Een king couldn't help but roar and began to dodge. Although she had ignited her bloodline power, she was still helpless against the arrow of virtue shot out by the ruler artifact. At this moment, the evil Een king who wanted to help the evil Een king felt that it was a bit troublesome, but she still summoned 5 evil spirits to block the 5-element arrow. These 5 evil spirits were pierced through by the 5-element arrow, but they also successfully reduced the speed and power of the arrow of virtue. Facing such 5-element arrow, the evil Een king no longer dodged, but chose to directly receive it. Boom. Although the evil Een king was sent flying, she didn't suffer any real injuries. After successfully receiving the 5-element arrow, the evil Een king sneered. The attack of the ruler artifact is only SOSO. The origin of the 1,000-demon bee is only SO. The Een demon king who used the void divine cloud to block the 72 stingers of the 1,000-demon bee king said in a cold voice. Then she said, "Everyone, as you can see, the 2 of them are just jumping clowns. There is no threat at all. Everyone, attack them together and kill them directly. After that, we can distribute the ownership of the ruler artifact." It's a bit too early for you to say this now. Hearing the Een demon king's words, Night Sorrow's face clearly showed an unconvinced expression. He felt that no matter what, he had to change 1 or 2 of the divine kings in the enemy camp today. Too early? It's not early. Now that all of you have used your most powerful techniques, you still can't do anything to us. The only thing waiting for you is to be torn apart. The Een demon king coldly threatened and roared. Kill them. Kill. The 1,000-demon bee king felt a little depressed that he didn't kill the evil Een king with 1 attack. He roared and prepared to continue the battle. At this moment, Night Sorrow stretched out his arm and stopped him. He said, "It's obviously impossible to use our lives to exchange for 1 or 2 divine kings in such a battle. Next, use the Tianyun bow and attack the heavenly evil king. I don't believe that you can't kill the heavenly evil king with the ruler artifact." "What, you are going to lend me the ruler artifact?" Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the 1,000-demon bee king's face was full of disbelief. Night Sorrow said, "We are going to die. Why would we care about the ruler artifact? What I care about is how to kill 2 or more divine kings. This way, when we die, we won't feel that we have suffered a loss." "That makes sense. We have to exchange at least 2 divine kings' lives. Give me the ruler artifact." Night Sorrow was determined to die, and so was the Thousand Demon Bee King. He roared heroically and took the Tianyan Bao from Night Sorrow's hand. He took out more than 10 stingers and looked at the Heavenly Evil King. This king doesn't believe that I can't kill you after fusing with the origin energy and using the ruler artifact. At this moment, the Thousand Demon Bee King's face was full of madness. After he let out a roar, he drew his heavenly cloud bow and shot out a dozen arrows in succession. His wasp tail needles immediately turned into death-hastening talismans and shot toward Lord Heavenly Evil. You are even willing to give up the ruler artifact. It seems that you are fighting with the determination to die. However, this king won't let you hurt this king's subordinates. The Heavenly Evil King definitely didn't have the strength to withstand these attacks. At this critical moment, the Een Demon Queen used the Divine Void Cloud again, and wanted to use it to neutralize the stingers shot by the Thousand Demon Bee King. Chapter 2805. Not only was the Void Divine Cloud unable to resolve the Thousand Demon Bee King's attack, it was also pierced by the stinger. After receiving several powerful attacks, the Void Divine Cloud finally couldn't hold on any longer. This was something the Een Demon King didn't expect. My Void Divine Cloud. The two of you, prepare to receive this king's fury. Seeing that his Void Divine Cloud had been pierced, the Een Demon King couldn't help but cry out in grief. The Void Divine Cloud was one of his most important trump cards. Now that it had been pierced, his heart ached so much that he was about to explode. This king is already prepared to die in battle. Show me everything you've got. But the Een Demon King must die. At this moment, the Thousand Demon Bee King had completely entered a frenzied state. With the Tianyan Bao in his hand, he stared at the Een Demon King. Although the Een Demon King wasn't locked onto by the Thousand Demon Bee King, his expression was extremely ugly. The Thousand Demon Bee King's targeting made him really unhappy. However, facing an opponent with a Dominator Divine weapon, he had no way to deal with it. Fight. He wasn't strong enough. He could only stand behind the Een Demon King. Soul 1 and Soul 3 from the Soul Slaughter estate stopped when they saw the situation develop like this. Whoever made a move now would be stirring up a hornet's nest. The two of them weren't that stupid. The Divine King and Wan Shang from the Myriad Miasma estate and the Poison Phoenix and Poison Han from the Poison Heart estate also stopped attacking. Damn it! You all have to die. The Een Demon King from the Heavenly Evil estate saw the situation in front of him, and anger rose in his heart. However, under the current situation he didn't dare to speak too harshly. He was afraid that the people from the 3 territories would cooperate with the Thousand Demon Bee King, and kill him in a fit of anger. He cursed in his heart, and shot out Een demons at the Thousand Demon Bee King again. This time, there were a total of 7 Een demons. Each of them looked the same as the Een Demon King, and had the strength of the Divine King. Seeing the Een Demon King summon so many Een demons, the Thousand Demon Bee King laughed manically. He drew his bow again and shot out several stingers. With the help of the Dominator Divine Weapon Tianyan Bao, the power of these stingers was too great. The 7 Een demons that were summoned didn't even have a chance to attack before they were completely wiped out. Evil Een King, let's see who can save you now. After dealing with the 7 Een demons, the Thousand Demon Queen Bee coldly laughed and shot another arrow at the Evil Een King. Heavenly Evil Bloodline. When the Thousand Demon Queen Bee shot out its stinger, the Evil Een King had no way of dealing with it. Even the Evil Een King would not be of much help. After the Een Demon King lost the Void God Cloud, she sent out the power of her bloodline. This was his other trump card. His goal was naturally to protect the Evil King, to prevent her from being killed, to ensure the absolute power of the Heavenly Evil territory. This time, after the Een Demon King had activated her bloodline, she had paid a price and suffered some injuries. However, she had once again neutralized the stinger shot out by the Thousand Demon Queen Bee. Temporarily protect the Evil King. Thank you, Een Demon King, for taking care of me, otherwise, I would have been wiped out. After being saved by the Een Devil King again and again, the Een Evil King immediately thanked her. It's still too early to say thanks. Do not underestimate that monarch god. In this array, the yuan qi we consume is several times faster than the outside world. That is to say, this array can absorb yuan qi. If he can use the absorbed yuan qi, things will be troublesome. While the Yin Demon King was on guard against the Thousand Demon Queen Bee, her divine soul had been locked onto Night Sorrow. Although Yi Shang didn't seem to reveal his true strength, he gave off an extremely dangerous feeling. The Yin Demon King knew that the array they were in was not simple. I will pay attention to him. After the Yin Demon Queen gave her instructions, the Yin Evil King used her divine soul to guard against Night Sorrow. Seeing the Yin Evil King's gaze, Night Sorrow did not say anything. At this moment, he did not use the yuan qi absorbed by the Heaven and Earth Spirit Gathering Array, preparing to use it when he underwent nirvana. However, when the Thousand Demon Queen Bee went crazy, although he did not make a move, he had been studying the current situation. Currently, apart from the Thousand Demon Queen Bee, there were only 9 Divine King with fighting strength in the few large territories. If he could kill one of the Divine King of the Heavenly Evil Territory, when he faked his death, it would become a 2 versus 2 situation for the 4 large territories. As long as their competition was cruel enough, a few Divine King would definitely die. In that case, after Night Sorrow underwent nirvana, as long as he joined forces with the Divine World Territory, he would be able to completely eliminate them and completely solve the problem. It seems that exchanging 2 for 1 with the Thousand Demon Queen Bee is actually a very good choice. However, killing the Yin Evil King doesn't seem to be the best choice. Only by killing the Yin Evil King can I further reduce the strength of the Heavenly Evil Territory. Thinking of this, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to the Thousand Demon Queen Bee. Feign an attack on the Yin Evil King and actually kill the Yin Evil King. This time, I will go all out and kill her at all costs. Yin Evil King? Killing those who are stronger is indeed a better choice. The Thousand Demon Queen Bee revealed a crazed expression. While transmitting her voice to Night Sorrow, she once again shot out several stingers at the Yin Evil King. Thousand Demon Queen Bee, let's see how long you can last. Seeing that the Thousand Demon Queen Bee was using the same trick again, the Yin Evil King immediately resisted the stingers, wanting to completely neutralize them. The Yin Evil King and the Yin Evil King also took action to neutralize the stingers. At this time, Night Sorrow continued to transmit his voice to the Thousand Demon Queen Bee. Good opportunity. Let's kill the Yin Evil King. Good. After this king has fused with the origin energy, he has learned a teleportation secret skill. He can use it immediately. Although the Thousand Demon Queen Bee was transmitting her voice, her tone gave off a very cold feeling. If not for the fact that he was sure that he would soon die and become his raw material, Night Sorrow would definitely not have lent out Tianyan Bao. Hearing the Thousand Demon Queen Bee's words, Night Sorrow said, I will continuously use my skills. You just need to quickly get close and kill him in an instant. Okay. The Thousand Demon Queen Bee replied coldly. I'm going to make my move. Night Sorrow, who had been preparing his attack, finally moved. At this moment, not only did he activate the Trayastrimsa battle secret technique, he also used the limitless body tempering art to raise his strength to the strongest state. He used the Samsara halberd to pretend to attack the Yin Evil King. When the Yin Evil King was blocking, he suddenly used the soft dragon roar that he had learned from the Dragon Sparrow King. Night Sorrow, who had erupted with his full strength, roared out the soft dragon roar, immediately causing the Yin Evil King, who was not prepared, to be stunned for a moment. His divine soul was damaged and in that instant, he was unable to control himself. After shaking the Yin Evil King's divine soul, Night Sorrow directly activated the virtuous dragon locking array on him. At the same time, Night Sorrow also entered the dragon locking array. After entering, he immediately did an extremely crazy thing. That was to self-destruct on the spot. Night Sorrow chose to self-destruct in the array. This caused all the Divine King present to be unable to understand. Chapter 2806. Damn it. When the Yin Demon King saw that Night Sorrow had chosen to self-destruct, she felt that she was too far away to help. This was something she had never expected. At the same time, the Thousand Demon Queen Bee, who had also not expected Night Sorrow to choose to self-destruct, instantly teleported towards the dying Evil Shade King, raised the Tianyan Bao, and smashed her to death. Evil Shade King. Seeing that the evil Shade King had been severely injured by Night Sorrow and killed by the Thousand Demon Queen Bee, the Demon King immediately roared. Now that the original owner of the Dominator divine weapon, Night Sorrow, had chosen to self-destruct, some of the Divine King present could not help but attack. They besieged the Thousand Demonic Wasp King, who was wielding the Heavenly Cloud Bow. Although the Thousand Demonic Wasp King had fused with the Thousand Wasp origin, and had the help of a sovereign artifact, he was still outnumbered. After fighting for a few rounds, she was severely injured. In the end, she chose to self-destruct like Night Sorrow. However, she did not cause any fatal damage to the remaining 8 Divine King. Before self-destructing, the Thousand Demon Queen Bee had tried to make Tianyun Bao self-destruct to kill all the Divine King present. However, how could Tianyun Bao be controlled by her? After the Thousand Demon Queen Bee died, Tianyun Bao floated in the air, emitting a restrained but charming light. The 8 great Divine Kings of the 4 territories stopped one after another at this time. No one took the initiative to grab Tianyun Bao. Every one of them wanted to take Tianyun Bao for themselves. At the very least, they hoped that Tianyun Bao would fall into their hands. However, everyone knew that the hunter would shoot the bird that stuck out. Everyone, we can't keep wasting time like this. How do you think we should determine the ownership of the Dominator divine weapon? After a moment of silence, the Demon King from the Heavenly Diabolism territory said eerily. She was the strongest person present, so her words were very imposing. How do we determine the ownership? That's a good question. When Hun-E, the leader of the Soul Slaughtering Estate, heard what the Demon King said, he immediately agreed. His tone was very playful. It was very obvious that he did not want to give up the fight for Tianyun Bao. The leader of the 10,000 miasma region, one raged. After transforming into his human form, his expression carried a trace of cold arrogance. Devil King, you can tell us your thoughts, and we will make a further decision. Yes, Devil King, you are the strongest person here. This king also wants to hear your opinion. Poison Heart Territory's Poison Phoenix had the same thoughts as the other 2. Good. Then I'll tell you my thoughts. The Demon King said sinisterly and continued. Among the people here, this king is the strongest. There's no doubt about that, right? If a fight were to break out, after the final melee, it was very likely that only this king would be able to survive. But if such a fight were to occur, when he said this, he suddenly stopped. What would happen if such a fight happened? Seeing that the Demon King had suddenly stopped, the leader of the Soul Slaughtering Estate, Hun-E, asked. I will kill you. Then discuss how to distribute Tianyun Bao. The Demon King looked at Hun-E. When she spoke, she was still smiling. But halfway through her words, she directly attacked. Demon King, you want to kill this king? You are courting death. Hun-E was originally on guard against the Demon King. Hence, the moment the Demon King attacked, he reacted. He instantly turned into nothingness and scattered into the void, dodging the Demon King's attack. The Soul Slaughtering clan also had this method of sneaking into the void. After Hun-E merged into the void, Hun-San immediately became alert and merged himself into the void. Hehe. Not bad, but the methods of your Soul Slaughtering clan are completely useless against this king. Hun-E and Hun-San disappeared into the void. Poison Heart Territory's Poison Phoenix immediately spat out a poisonous fog into the void. When the green poisonous fog was spat out into the void, it immediately spread for hundreds of thousands of miles. Other than Tianyun Bao's surroundings, everywhere else was filled with dense poisonous fog. Poison Phoenix, you actually helped the Demon King deal with this king. After the Poison Phoenix attacked, Hun-Ye's furious voice immediately sounded from the void. Soon Hun-E and Hun-San fell out of the void. Poison Phoenix's methods were innately effective against the Soul Slaughtering clan. If Hun-E and Hun-San did not come out of the void, they would quickly be poisoned. Hehe. Not only did she help the Demon King, but I also did the same. The leader of the Myriad Miasma Estate, Wan raged, immediately attacked with his subordinate, Wan Shang, when Hun-E and Hun-San fell out of the void. The two of you, deal with this king the same way the Demon King will deal with you later. Hun-E and Hun-San were immediately enraged when they were surrounded by the 6th Divine King. They did not expect that everyone would choose to deal with them first. That's none of your business. If the two of you die, there will be two less competitors. The Een Demon King said coldly and attacked Hun Yi and Hun San again. Een Demon King, you have used up all your tricks. In the end, you will definitely suffer retribution. Hun Yi was very strong, but he could not do anything when he was surrounded. 2 against 6 was already beyond his ability to resist. At this time Hun San reminded, "Leader, now it seems that we will definitely die. Why don't we merge with the soul-slaughtering origin and fight to the death?" I did not expect that when we were attacking the 1000 Demon Queen Bee, we would encounter such retribution and walk on the same path as him. Hun Yi sighed. Without any hesitation, he immediately summoned the soul-slaughtering origin. The 1000 Demon Queen Bee and the owner of the Dominator Divine Artifact fought to the death against the evil Een King of the Heavenly Diabolism Estate. This king felt that it was not worth it, but now this king has also walked on the same path. "You guys, whoever attacks first, this king will kill you." After merging with the soul-slaughtering origin, Hun Yi's tone became even colder and more murderous. "Hun Yi, others may be afraid of you merging with the origin, but I, the Een Demon King, am not. Prepare to die. Everyone follow me. Kill Hun San first." Seeing that Hun Yi had merged with the soul-slaughtering origin, the Een Demon King, who had already expected this, immediately cooperated with the heavenly evil origin and fought with Hun Yi. Although the Een Demon King had not merged with the heavenly evil origin, she could borrow the power of the heavenly evil origin and make the heavenly evil origin cooperate with her. The others, who were originally very wary of Hun Yi, saw that the Een Demon King was so powerful and immediately attacked again. Soon they killed Hun San. Only Hun Yi was left to face the 5 Divine King alone. Hun Yi's eyes were filled with hatred, but he could not do anything to the 5 opponents in front of him. Not long after, he chose to self-destruct like Night Sorrow and the 1000 Demon Queen Bee. Night Sorrow seemed to have pointed out a path for these Divine King. When Hun Yi self-destructed, the 6 Divine King who were vigilant did not suffer any serious injuries. Chapter 2807. When the Een Demon King spoke, the leaders of the Myriad Miasma Estate and Poison Heart Estate didn't speak. Behind them, Wan Shang and Du Han didn't speak either. At this time, the Een Demon King sneered. "Why aren't you speaking? Don't you want the ruler artifact? Who doesn't want the ruler artifact? But you have to be alive to get it." After the Een Demon King spoke, the leader of the Myriad Miasma Estate, Wan Nu, laughed coldly. "Hee. A wise man submits to circumstances. Wan Nu, you've made the right choice." The Myriad Miasma Territory's leader, Wan Nu's words satisfied the Een Demon Monarch. She looked at Poison Heart Estate's Poison Phoenix and asked, "Poison Phoenix, what do you mean?" "What do I mean? What I mean is, I'll kill you with Wan Nu." Poison Heart Territory's King Poison Phoenix opened her mouth and immediately spat out a thick poisonous mist at the Een Devil King. After Soul One was killed, the poison mist, which had gradually weakened, rose again. At this time Wan Nu, the leader of the Myriad Miasma Estate, smiled and said, "Een Demon King, we agree to cooperate with you to kill Soul One. Can't you understand what's going on? A wise man submits to circumstances. If you understand this logic, immediately give up fighting for the ruler artifact." Hee. Wan Nu, it seems that this king underestimated your determination. The Een Demon King wasn't surprised that Wan Nu and Poison Phoenix had joined forces. She smiled coldly. "Since you want to die together, this king will satisfy you." As the Een Demon King spoke, another Een Demon King appeared where Tianyun Bao was. The other Een Demon King grabbed the Heaven Cloud Bow in her hand and laughed loudly. "When we were dealing with Soul One, this king's doppelganger had already infiltrated the ruler artifact." Tianyun Bao, what a good name. The Een Demon King's doppelganger holding the Tianyun Bao trembled. The texture of the Tianyun Bao was something that a king-grade artifact definitely didn't have. Holding it in her hand, she could feel a powerful force. "Een Demon King, you're so scheming." The leader of the 10,000 Miasma Territory, Wan raged, had never thought that the Een Devil King had already secretly obtained Tianyun Bao. At the same time, he sent a voice transmission to the poison phoenix. He has a sovereign artifact. What should we do? What else can we do? Fight to the death. He has just obtained a sovereign artifact. At most, he can use it as a close-range divine artifact. It's not a fatal threat. Poison Phoenix said. Ha! Now, enjoy the power of the sovereign artifact. Just as Poison Phoenix's voice was heard by Myriad Fury, the Een Demon King's cold voice was heard. Then the Een Demon King's clone took out a dozen stingers from the 1,000 Demon Queen Bee and shot them at the 4 Divine King. The evil Een King stood behind the Een Demon King. Fight! We will fight 4 against 2. First kill the evil Een King, then deal with the Een Devil King. Facing the Een Devil King's wasp stinger, the Poison Phoenix immediately transformed into the Poison Phoenix's body and fanned out a dense poison mist. She wanted to use this to corrode the wasp stinger, but the result disappointed her. The wasp stinger shot out by the sovereign artifact Tianyun Bao was unexpectedly powerful. It was several times more powerful than the 1,000 Demon Queen Bees. It seems that the Tianyun Bao can only unleash its true power in the hands of a true expert. After the Een Demon King shot out the wasp stinger continuously and merged with her clone, the power of the arrows shot out was even greater. Thus, Myriad Fury, Poison Phoenix, and the others could only passively defend. Since we are already in this situation, let's not hide anymore, right? Myriad Fury, who was suppressed by the Een Demon King, sent a voice transmission to the Poison Phoenix. His tone was extremely cold. Kill the Een Demon King, and then study other things. The Poison Phoenix's voice was also filled with killing intent. In an instant, the two's auras began to grow infinitely. Soon, their auras were raised to the same level as the Een Demon King. You two have indeed hidden your strength, but the sovereign artifact is already in my hands. You are no match for it. This king will first kill you two, then destroy the Divine World territory. The Een Demon King continued to shoot the wasp stinger while holding the Tianyun Bao in her hand. She seemed to have expected that the Poison Phoenix and Myriad Fury would raise their strength. You want to kill us? You are not enough. At the same time, Myriad Fury's body suddenly exploded in the void. But he didn't self-destruct. Instead, he turned into the Miasma Origin. He had already merged with the 1,000 Miasma Origin. The Poison Phoenix directly swallowed the Poison Heart Origin into her stomach, and also raised her strength. Then they started to fight fiercely with the Een Demon King. At this moment, some of the Divine King, who was originally resting on the side, also joined the battle. For a moment, the scene became even more chaotic. These Divine King might have already gotten used to the Heaven and Earth Spiritual Energy Gathering Array, and consuming their Divine Essence energy too quickly. They didn't notice that while they were fighting, the Heaven and Earth Spiritual Energy Gathering Array was gradually increasing the speed of energy absorption. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who had self-destructed, was reborn. Under the influence of the Nirvana Rebirth technique, his body quickly reformed under the Heaven and Earth Spiritual Energy Gathering Array. Moreover, he absorbed the energy accumulated by the array, which contained a large amount of power of virtue. In addition, the Nirvana Rebirth technique could originally raise a cultivator's strength. After absorbing this energy, Night Sorrow directly raised his power of virtue to the level of a high-level Divine Lord. Night Sorrow is about to wake up. When he wakes up, the lightning tribulation will immediately descend, and he will soon become a high-level Divine Lord. In the clear sky pagoda beside Night Sorrow, the Fire Phoenix King, who was observing Night Sorrow's transformation, comforted the worried Dragon Sparrow King and Cao Ling. Just now, in the clear sky pagoda, Cao Ling had witnessed the scene of Night Sorrow self-destructing. She was so worried that she cried. At this moment, hearing the Fire Phoenix King's words, Cao Ling smiled through her tears. Big Brother Night Sorrow's cultivation speed is really unprecedented. How long have you known Lord Night Sorrow? What was his strength at that time? Hearing Cao Ling words, Dragon Sparrow King immediately asked curiously. I can't count the time in the spatial artifact, but it shouldn't be more than 100 years. At that time, his strength seemed to be a mid-level Divine Lord, or a high-level Divine Lord. In any case, he wasn't a divine lord. Recalling the past, Cao Ling said. Hearing this, the Fire Phoenix King and Dragon Sparrow King looked at each other, the corners of their mouths trembling. They wanted to say something, but they didn't. In less than 100 years, he had advanced from a divine lord to a high-level divine lord. This was simply the speed of a feather god's breakthrough. Boom. About half a month later, the sound of thunder suddenly resounded between heaven and earth. I originally wanted to wait a little longer. Since you're here, then come. After the sound of thunder rang out, Night Sorrow slowly stood up from the underground space. Although he was in a state of death after self-destructing, because of the heaven and earth spiritual energy gathering array, he knew the extent of the battle outside. Chapter 2808. After half a month of intense fighting, the Yin Demon King, who was holding the Tianyan Bao, was all alone in the heaven and earth spirit gathering array. However, the only opponents left were Poison Phoenix and Wanru, who could use the power of the origin. The other Divine King couldn't withstand his attacks at all. The leaders of the 3 territories were all fighting alone. The tens of millions of troops behind them had all fallen in the process of fighting for the Tianyan Bao. However, the 3 of them didn't even bat an eye at this. For the 3 of them, obtaining the sovereign artifact meant that they had a chance to comprehend the laws of the sovereign realm. Only by breaking through to the sovereign realm could they completely leave the world in front of them and return to their own world. As for the Tianyan Bao, the 3 of them didn't budge an inch. Fighting in the heaven and earth spirit gathering array would cause the essence chi in their bodies to be absorbed by the array. After half a month of fighting, although they had been using elixirs to maintain the essence chi in their bodies, the consumption of their souls was quite large. Even the Yin Demon King couldn't withstand it. However, Poison Phoenix and Wanru's condition was clearly worse than his. The Yin Demon King wanted to get rid of them in one go, then find a place to recuperate. After recuperating, he who held the Tianyan Bao had the ability to destroy the divine world's cultivators with his own strength. At that time, he would absorb the divine world's origin. His strength would definitely improve, and he would be infinitely close to the sovereign realm. Thinking of what might happen in the future, the Yin Demon King smiled sinisterly and threatened. Your divine souls have been corroded beyond recognition by the array. This king will give you 2 a chance to surrender. Otherwise, this king will completely annihilate you. It wasn't easy for the Yin Demon King to defeat Poison Phoenix and Wanru. However, with Tianyan Bao's help, she should be able to achieve a narrow victory. If she could win without bloodshed, it would definitely be better than a narrow victory. Hearing the Yin Demon King's words, Poison Phoenix sneered. Yin Demon King, we've already fought to this point. Don't you think it's funny to say such words? Wanru also laughed, but it was an extremely cold laugh. You were the first to obtain the sovereign artifact. Otherwise, you would already be dead. This king has the sovereign artifact, and is stronger than the 2 of you. This is because his providence is stronger than yours. You don't know what's good for you. You're just digging your own graves. The final victor is this king. The Yin Demon King was certain that Poison Phoenix and 10,000 Fury were prepared to fight to the death. The killing intent that she had temporarily retracted was released once again. He raised the Tianyan Bao and continued to fight with the 2 of them. This time, the Yin Devil King completely unleashed all of her means, severely injuring Wanru very quickly. 10,000 Fury. How are you? Poison Phoenix used a method to save Wanru's life from the Yin Devil King's hands, and immediately asked. Not good. He was afraid that he would not be able to escape death. Don't worry, I will do my best to help you. There was a trace of unwillingness in Wan Raging's eyes, but there was nothing he could do. His injuries were too heavy. If he continued fighting, he could only use forbidden techniques. I will find a way to revive you, Poison Phoenix said as she prepared to attack the Yin Devil King with myriad wrath. Boom. At this moment, the sound of thunder that had been ringing for a while suddenly became more intense. Hearing the dense sound of thunder, Night Sorrow, who had already successfully undergone nirvana in the heaven and earth spirit gathering array, revealed a smile. He transmitted his voice to the 3 people in the clear sky pagoda. The lightning tribulation can no longer be suppressed. We have to go up. Be careful of the remaining few. Fire Phoenix King reminded him and then stopped talking. As for Dragon Sparrow King and Cowling, they were afraid of disturbing Night Sorrow, so they didn't speak. Don't worry. It's not difficult for me to transcend the tribulation, Night Sorrow said as he broke through the ground and soared into the sky. What's going on? The 3 territorial lords were fighting to such an extent, and a cultivator suddenly rushed out from the ground, immediately attracting their attention. What's going on? I'm the one transcending the tribulation. At the same time that Night Sorrow replied, he charged towards the lightning tribulation energy body in the sky. I didn't expect that your self-destruction was just a fake death. What deep scheming! Die for this king. After discovering that the figure that jumped out from the ground was Night Sorrow, the Demon King immediately shot an arrow in anger. He had already gone crazy for the ruler artifact. When he saw Night Sorrow, the master of Tianyun Bao, appear, he didn't even care about Poison Phoenix and Wanru. What should we do? Poison Phoenix, who was in a passive position, saw Night Sorrow suddenly appear and the Demon King crazily attack. She immediately hesitated. At present, it was definitely the best choice for them to watch from the sidelines. If they ignore this king for 5 hours, then this king can recover more than half of his combat strength without using forbidden methods. Wanru, who was originally prepared to use forbidden methods to barely increase his combat strength, said with some relief. That's good. Hurry up and recover. I'll protect you. Poison Phoenix heaved a sigh of relief. If Wanru died in battle, then she wouldn't be a match for the Demon King. I'll recover as soon as possible. Wanru, who was using the origin energy in his body to heal his injuries, said and sat on the ground. Okay. Poison Phoenix glanced at Wanru and then raised her head to look at the Demon King. She knew that Night Sorrow needed to pass the tribulation, so she was worried about the Demon King first. Poison Phoenix didn't expect that the moment she raised her head, the Demon King had already shot dozens of arrows in Wanru's direction. She wanted to block it, but it was too late. Wanru, who had just recovered from his injuries, was even more unprepared. He was immediately killed by these arrows. This king said that your luck isn't good enough. You'll be killed by this king. The Demon King, who had pretended to attack Night Sorrow to divert Poison Phoenix and Wanru's attention, laughed sinisterly after killing Wanru. The attack on Night Sorrow was just a feint. Her goal was to make Wanru and Poison Phoenix lower their guard. Unexpectedly, Wanru, who had incomparably rich combat experience, fell for it. Demon King, don't be happy too early. Today, even if you join hands with the cultivators of the God Realm, I, Poison Phoenix King, won't let you off. Seeing that Wanru was killed, Poison Phoenix, who didn't have the confidence to face the Demon King alone, immediately shouted. This was to express goodwill to Night Sorrow. In her opinion, if she cooperated with Night Sorrow to kill the Demon King, then she would have a chance to fight the final battle with Night Sorrow. Hearing Poison Phoenix's goodwill, Night Sorrow, who had quickly dealt with the lightning tribulation energy body and successfully advanced to a high-level divine lord, revealed a smile. A smile appeared on his face as he said, Poison Phoenix, I understand what you mean. I'll cooperate with you. Let's kill the Demon King together. Divine Lord Ant, your reliance Tianyun Bao is already in this king's hands. What are you relying on? Seeing Night Sorrow's cultivation, the Demon King said disdainfully. Until now, she still felt that Night Sorrow was able to pose a threat to them completely because of Tianyun Bao's power. You'll understand soon. Chapter 2809. Good. Let's attack together. Poison Phoenix replied to Night Sorrow and reminded him, be careful of the Demon King, she is very cunning. As for the Tianyun Bao in her hands, you should know its power. In her opinion, although Night Sorrow was an ally, his cultivation was only at the Divine Lord level. She was worried that he would be killed immediately if he was not strong enough. Don't worry, I won't be killed so easily. As Yishang sent a voice projection to the Poison Phoenix, the worldly spirit gathering formation absorbed Wanru without anyone noticing. including the 1,000 miasma origin in his body. It was all absorbed. Night Sorrow, who had advanced to the upper Divine Lord level, immediately took all of it for himself. Good. I hope you won't disappoint this king. Poison Phoenix sent a voice transmission to Yishang before transforming into a dark green phoenix again. She then used her power of origin. She flapped her wings at the Demon King and released endless poisonous gas. You're still using this move. Seeing Poison Phoenix use her poison technique again, the Demon King laughed disdainfully. While dodging, she used the Tianyun Bow again, and shot it at Poison Phoenix and Night Sorrow. At the same time, the Demon King summoned her doppelganger, and let her doppelganger fight with Night Sorrow while her main body fought with Poison Phoenix. Both the Demon King and Poison Phoenix had always looked down on Night Sorrow's strength. They felt that with the Tianyun Bow in his hands, he would not be able to threaten the upper Divine King. The Demon King felt that sending out a doppelganger was enough to deal with Night Sorrow. Her main body focused on dealing with Poison Phoenix. Night Sorrow, who originally wanted to use some of his strength, saw the situation in front of him. After dodging the arrows shot by the Demon King, he fought with her doppelganger. After the Demon King summoned her doppelganger, her strength was reduced. When fighting against Poison Phoenix, her advantage was not as great as before. The strength of the Demon King's doppelganger and main body can be divided at will. When fighting, try your best to let her use more strength. Only then will this king have a chance to kill him. Seeing that Night Sorrow had the ability to block the Demon King's clone, Poison Phoenix immediately asked him to try his best to make the Demon King put in more effort. Good. I will try my best to use my ultimate skill. Night Sorrow replied. He had said that he would try his best to use his ultimate technique, but he did not say that he would use his full strength. In fact, he had indeed held back. For Night Sorrow, it was a pleasant surprise to be able to watch the battle between the two under such circumstances. He was very satisfied. Under such circumstances, Poison Phoenix clearly didn't have the time to pay attention to this. She was focused on fighting the Demon King. Poison Phoenix, do you think that just because you found a monarch god as a helper, you have the power to fight? Stop dreaming. The Devil King, who was fighting Poison Phoenix, let out a cold roar after the battle stabilized. She grabbed Tianyun Bao in her hand and used him as a melee weapon. Then she used a ghostly movement technique to attack. After fighting for more than half a month, this was the first time the Demon King used his abnormal movement technique. What? So fast. After the Demon King unleashed her full power, her speed reached a certain level. As a member of the Phoenix race, Poison Phoenix's speed was far inferior to hers. She was quickly closed in. This king's name is the Demon King. The Demon body's speed is unparalleled. You don't even know this. After closing in on Poison Phoenix, the Demon King immediately took the initiative. The Phoenix god was constantly attacked. After Poison Phoenix fell into a disadvantage, she felt that the Phoenix god was not suitable for battle, and immediately turned back into her human form. However, her speed was still below the Demon King's. She was continuously attacked by the Tianyun Bao. Haha! All of you must die! While suppressing Poison Phoenix, the Demon King's clone attacked Night Sorrow at the same time. She wanted to put pressure on him so that he wouldn't have a chance to save her. You are really thinking too much. Seeing the Demon King's performance, Night Sorrow remained calm, and continued to fight against the Demon King's clone. As for Poison Phoenix, although she was suppressed, she still didn't feel that Night Sorrow had the ability to help her. Clearly, she didn't consider him at all. Under such circumstances, after fighting for about an hour, Poison Phoenix was completely killed by the Demon King. After killing the Poison Phoenix, the Devil King immediately merged with her doppelganger. She looked at Night Sorrow sinisterly and said, I will give you one more chance. Choose soul submission. Otherwise, you will be killed immediately. Killed immediately? I also want to say the same to you. Hearing the Demon King's words, Night Sorrow disdainfully retorted. To him, this was the situation he was waiting for. Good. Even now you are still stubborn. Then don't blame this king for not caring about your favor of giving me the sovereign divine weapon. The Demon King holding the Tianyun Bao looked at Night Sorrow mockingly. Hearing the Demon King's words, Night Sorrow couldn't help but laugh out loud. Demon King, Demon King. How should I describe you? Don't tell me that until now. You still haven't realized that I purposely lured Tianyun Bao into your battle. I know. Of course this king knows. But now that Tianyun Bao is in this king's hands, what awaits you is death. Have a taste of dying in the hands of your own divine weapon. The Demon King laughed sinisterly. She drew her bow and prepared to shoot the arrow of heavenly evil at Night Sorrow. The arrow of heavenly evil was formed from the source of heavenly evil. It was very powerful. Even Divine King like Thousand Fury and Poison Phoenix had to avoid its sharpness. He saw the Demon King's performance. Night Sorrow laughed again. You still don't understand what I mean. How sad. At this point Night Sorrow roared. Tianyun Bao, come back. Wang. Receiving Night Sorrow's summon, the Tianyun Bao in the Demon King's hand suddenly trembled, and immediately bounced out of the Demon King's hand. It flew towards Night Sorrow's position. How could this be? How is this possible? Tianyun Bao clearly hasn't been recognized as its master. In an instant, Tianyun Bao erupted with a terrifying power and blasted it away, flying back into Night Sorrow's hand. The Demon King's face was filled with disbelief. It was precisely because he was sure that Tianyun Bao was an ownerless item that even he couldn't make it recognize him as its master that he felt that Night Sorrow, the original owner, couldn't take it back. In front of him, Night Sorrow summoned Tianyun Bao back with a single sentence. This made the Demon King completely crazy. The arrow of heavenly evil in his hand scattered because of this. Tianyun Bao, remove the filth. Night Sorrow, who was holding Tianyun Bao in his hand, immediately poured blood into Tianyun Bao. After absorbing a large amount of Night Sorrow's blood, Tianyun Bao, who was originally emitting light, immediately bloomed with an even more resplendent light. Tianyun Bao's body was also gradually covered with dragon patterns. Demon King, it's better if you taste Tianyun Bao. After helping Tianyun Bao completely dispel the filth, Night Sorrow immediately shot the Merit 5 Elements arrow at the Demon King. Chapter 28:10. Good move. I didn't expect that all of us experts would be schemed against by an ant like you. However, with your Divine Lord level abilities, even with Tianyun Bao, you won't be this king's match. As for your array, it won't be able to trap this king at all. The Demon King was very unhappy that Tianyun Bao had been snatched away from her. But she was still confident in her own strength. She immediately adjusted her attitude. In her opinion, as long as she killed Night Sorrow, Tianyun Bao would definitely fall into her hands again. After being bound by the virtuous dragon locking array, the Demon King immediately shattered the sealed space and used her ghostly movement technique to dodge the 5-element arrows. You think too simply. Do you think you can dodge my 5-element arrows so easily after I raise my strength? Seeing that the Demon King wanted to use her movement technique to dodge the 5-element arrows, Night Sorrow coldly snorted and shot out the virtuous 5-element arrows again. After the 2 sets of 5-element arrows were shot out, they immediately chased after the Demon King. No matter how strong her movement technique was or how fast she couldn't dodge them all at once. Boom! After a loud sound, the Demon King was hit by one of the 5-element arrows. Night Sorrow, who had advanced to an upper Divine Lord, could unleash even more power than Tianyun Bao. The 5-element arrows he shot out were much stronger than when he was an intermediate Divine Lord. They couldn't be compared at all. This set of 5-element arrows immediately heavily injured the Demon King, who was already in a bad state. A Divine Lord can also unleash such an attack? The heavily injured Devil King continued to dodge the other set of 5-element arrows while she was injured. At the same time, she shot out 3 devils at Yi Sorrow. Although these 3 demons were different from her doppelgangers, they were very strong and were about as strong as the intermediate Divine King. Using the 3 demons to temporarily hold back Night Sorrow, the Demon King summoned 5 demons that were much weaker, and used up the virtuous 5-element arrows. Evil Regeneration Technique. while the three demons were restraining Night Sorrow. The Demon King used the heavenly evil source energy to cast a secret technique that was close to rebirth. The injuries on his body were completely healed, and his aura had clearly increased. Try this king's strongest attack. After the Demon King increased her strength, she immediately turned into countless demons and attacked Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow had just used Tianyun Bao as a close combat weapon to kill three demons. At the same time, he used the Heaven and Earth Spirit Gathering Array to replenish his lost vitality. When the Demon King transformed into countless demons and attacked, he immediately activated the Sea Serpent Eye to determine the other party's true body. He realized that the Demon King's true body was constantly changing, switching between the various demons. I understand now. The true body of the Demon King can change at will and appear on any demon. Using the Sea Serpent Eye to observe, Night Sorrow analyzed the essence of the Demon King's move. Facing this move, Night Sorrow didn't panic. He recalled the dragon roar, soft dragon roar that the Dragon Sparrow King had imparted to him and suddenly roared. Roar! After a divine soul attack that sounded like a dragon's roar exploded, all the phantoms summoned by the Devil King disappeared. Your strongest attack is only SOSO. After shattering the Demon King's demons, Night Sorrow immediately used the Samsara Halberd and shot out the Forbidden Spear. After increasing his strength, his raw strength had greatly increased. Furthermore, he was currently in the Heaven and Earth Spirit Gathering Array, so his divine essence energy wasn't much weaker than the Demon King's. When he used the Half-Step Dominator Grade Divine Artifact, the Samsara Halberd, the power was completely different. I didn't expect you to have a Half-Step Dominator Grade Divine Artifact. Unfortunately, this King's Void Divine Cloud has been destroyed. The other divine artifacts have also been heavily damaged. Facing Night Sorrow's Forbidden Spear, the Demon King's incomparably evil eyes flashed with a trace of seriousness. When Night Sorrow used the Nirvana Rebirth technique, he had been fighting fiercely, and the divine artifacts in his hands had been mostly used up. Facing the Forbidden Spear, he could only choose to avoid it. Your momentum is already gone. Today you will lose without a doubt. Prepare to die. In the Heaven and Earth Spirit Gathering Array, the spirit chi on Night Sorrow's body kept increasing. The Divine King that had fallen in the array had all become his nourishment. As he continued to absorb, Night Sorrow felt that his strength was still increasing. Although he understood that this was a temporary increase, Night Sorrow still felt invincible. As the Demon King dodged the Forbidden Spear, he shot out another arrow of virtue. Even though the arrow of virtue was not a 5 elements arrow, it was infused with the Poison Heart origin and the Myriad Miasma origin. The two Divine Kings had just fallen, and their origin energies had been absorbed by the Heaven and Earth Spirit Gathering Array. Night Sorrow could temporarily use it, but he couldn't completely absorb it for his own use. So your array has this kind of power. Seeing that Night Sorrow had added Poison Heart origin and Myriad Miasma origin to the Arrow of Virtue, the Demon King roared. The Demon King roared angrily and mocked. However, your power of virtue is mixed with the so-called evil origin. Aren't you afraid of being corroded? Attacking is just a method. My heart is towards the light, and I can purify everything in the world. You don't have to worry about this. After shooting the arrow, Night Sorrow knew that the Demon King wouldn't feel good. At the same time, he shot out another 5-element arrow. After shooting out 3 sets, he didn't stop. Instead, he continued to brew. In the end, after shooting out 5 sets, the combination of the 5-element arrows changed in an instant. When the 5 arrows formed the array, the 5 sets of arrows also underwent a miraculous change, forming the 5-element arrow array. Its power increased by more than 10 times. This king. At this moment, the Demon King had just used all the origin energies in her body to dissolve the Poison Heart origin and Myriad Miasma origin. The Arrow of Virtue immediately saw the 5-element arrow array shot out by Tianyun Bao. Her heart immediately turned cold. At this moment, the Demon King smelled the scent of death. Reality proved that the Demon King's perception was correct. Although Night Sorrow had consumed a lot of energy to shoot the 5-element arrow array, the harvest was also gratifying. The Demon King, who had originally wanted to escape from the Heaven and Earth Spirit Gathering Array, was directly killed by the arrow array. After destroying the Demon King, Knight Sorrow felt that he was invincible in the realm of the Divine King. However, after thinking about it, he felt that this was the credit of the Heaven and Earth Spirit Gathering Array. Moreover, it was also because the Demon King had been continuously fighting, and her methods were more or less exhausted. If it was the Demon King at her peak, even if he used the 5-element arrow array, it would still be very difficult to get rid of her. Haha. Lord Knight Sorrow, you are really amazing. He had single-handedly eliminated all threats from the 7 territories, as expected of the person chosen by the Lord. Chapter 28:11. The Fire Phoenix King was also very excited. She transmitted her voice to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow, now that the crisis of the 7 territories has been eliminated, you have passed the Lord's test. Yes. It really wasn't easy. If not for the fact that these evil creatures were born with a murderous nature, and were very conceited, I'm afraid it wouldn't have been so easy to deal with. Knight Sorrow thought back and felt that the few leaders, including the Devil King, were all mesmerized by the Dominator divine weapon. He definitely couldn't rely on his own strength to save the divine realm. In the end, it's because Lord Knight Sorrow's luck is strong enough, his methods are thick enough, and his methods are thick enough. The Dragon Sparrow King in the Clear Sky Pagoda laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, thinking that I, Dragon Sparrow, will immediately see the light of day again. This feeling is really comfortable." This king is also looking forward to returning to the divine realm. Knight Sorrow, thank you. The Fire Phoenix King in the Clear Sky Pagoda said, and then fell into deep thought, as if recalling the past. Cao Ling didn't seem to care about leaving this place, but she also smiled and congratulated Knight Sorrow. Phew. I also feel relaxed. When saying this, Knight Sorrow let out a heavy breath. At that time, facing so many Divine King in the territories, he indeed felt a huge pressure, especially when there was an expert like the Devil King among them. Right. I wonder if Mozia, Zhonglingshao, and the others have successfully rushed back to the divine realm. At this time, the dust had already settled, and Knight Sorrow immediately thought of Mozia, Zhonglingshao, and the others. Why don't we go to the divine realm to confirm? Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the Dragon Sparrow King in the Clear Sky Pagoda immediately said with a smile. Then he continued, Lord Knight Sorrow, you have saved the entire divine realm. Indeed, you should make a trip and enjoy their worship. Hehe. There's no need for worship. I just want to confirm the safety of Mozia, Zhonglingshao, and the others, and then think of a way to leave this place. I don't know how to leave this place. The main thing is that no one has ever succeeded. Dragon Sparrow King asked doubtfully. Ever since this place had been built, no one knew how to pass the trial, and no one knew how to leave this place other than being teleported away after death. I think it's very likely that the people of the God Realm know this secret. Let's head to the territory of the Divine Realm to confirm their safety. At the same time, we'll ask them how we can leave this place. Knight Sorrow said as he put away the Samsara halberd and Tianyun bow, and rushed towards the realm of the gods. Along the way, he discovered that the 7 territories of the God Realm that had been destroyed by the accident had all returned to normal. Without the 7 great origins, there was no more darkness or blood in this small world. The surviving non-humankind creatures were only a small part of the total number. Everything had become beautiful. However, when he arrived at the Celestial Realm, Knight Sorrow saw that the Celestial Realm's defensive array was still activated. The gates of the huge city were still closed. Standing outside the city, Knight Sorrow shouted, "May I ask if Mozia and Zhonglingshao are in the city?" Mozia and Zhonglingshao are in the city. Who are you? The guards on the city walls immediately questioned when they saw Knight Sorrow speak. I'm a friend of Mozia and Zhonglingshao. I saved them from the Scarlet Territory. Knight Sorrow explained and continued. Please help me inform them that Knight Sorrow is here to see them. Wait here. One of the guards said something to Knight Sorrow and invited a Divine King over. This was a long-haired old man with the appearance of a Divine King. He had a sage-like appearance. He sized up Night Sorrow and said, I can see that you're not from the 7 territories. However, it's impossible for me to let you enter the city. Wait outside the city for a while. I'll send someone to call Emozia and Zhong Lingxiao over. Okay, I'll wait for them here. Night Sorrow replied and continued. However, there's one thing that you can rest assured about. The 7 territories have been completely destroyed. The haze that shrouded the Divine World's territories has been completely dispelled. What? What did you say? Say it again. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the Divine King on the city walls asked 3 short questions in a row. I said that the 7 territories have been completely destroyed. The 7 territories no longer exist. Yishan repeated his words once more. At this moment, the old Divine King sized up Night Sorrow and coldly snorted. Nonsense. How could the 7 territories have been destroyed for no reason? Speak. Are you a spy sent by the 7 territories? The 7 territories have indeed been destroyed. The one who did it was me. It was normal for the old Divine King to be suspicious. Night Sorrow immediately explained. You, a mere High Divine Lord, wiped out everyone in the 7 great territories? How is that possible? The old Divine King fumed at Night Sorrow's words, his eyes widened in disbelief. Look at what I'm holding. I cultivate the power of virtue, and am a Divine Lord of virtue. I never speak nonsense. Night Sorrow felt that it was normal for the old Divine King to be confused. He immediately summoned his power of virtue, and had it turn into a dragon of virtue that coiled around his arm. A person of virtue never spoke nonsense. This was a principle that everyone knew. A Divine Lord of virtue, as expected of a Divine Lord of virtue. If what you said is true, then the Divine World's crisis has really been resolved. The old God King immediately furrowed his brows when he saw the power of virtue that Night Sorrow had condensed. He said excitedly. Actually, he could not be blamed for his suspicions. There were at least 20 Divine Kings in the 7 great territories. Furthermore, they had 7 great origins. Wanting to eliminate all of them with just a single High Celestial Lord was simply a fantasy. However, Night Sorrow had already summoned his dragon of virtue. His words couldn't be false. The old Divine King immediately felt that things were a little surreal. He sent people to inform Emozia, Zhong Lingxiao, and the others, as well as to invite the Divine Kings in the Divine World. Up until now, there were a total of 5 Divine King in the Divine World, including the old Divine King Mo Yen. They were the City Lord Luan Qianhe, the Vice City Lords Tan Dong and Ling Fian, as well as Morong Yukong. When the old Divine King sent people to invite the Divine Kings, Emozia, Zhong Lingxiao, and the others had already arrived. The moment he saw Night Sorrow, Zhong Lingxiao's face turned red. Brother Night Sorrow, I'm really sorry. I didn't manage to invite the Divine King in the city. I couldn't do anything about it, so? Emozia also had an awkward expression. It's us who are ungrateful and stayed in the city to struggle at death's door. Almost all of the people in the 7 territories have been wiped out. You don't have to take it to heart. Night Sorrow waved his hand indifferently at them, indicating that he didn't care about this matter. Almost all of the people in the 7 territories have been wiped out? Is this true? Chapter 28:12. Of course it's true. Otherwise, Night Sorrow wouldn't have had a chance to escape when he was surrounded by the Divine King of the 5 territories. Night Sorrow explained with a smile. Now that he saw Zhong Lingxiao, Emozia, and the others appear safely, the result was much better than he had imagined. Back then, he had predicted that Zhong Lingxiao, Emozia, and the others would all die, and then he would use the Heaven and Earth Spirit Gathering Array to revive them. Yes, that's the reason. At that time, there were 20 or so Divine King who broke into the array. If I hadn't killed them all, you wouldn't have had a chance to escape. Hearing Night Sorrow's explanation, Zhong Lingxiao immediately laughed excitedly. Emozia and the others also sighed in admiration, and asked about the ins and outs of the matter. When Night Sorrow explained everything, everyone, including the old Divine King, nodded in agreement. Among them, the old Divine King even released his divine soul power to sense Night Sorrow's Tianyun Bao. After confirming that Tianyun Bao really had a ruler artifact, He was shocked, but at the same time, he also believed Night Sorrow's words. Don't be happy too early. There's another possibility, which is that he was restrained by the Devil King and the others and has already surrendered to them. Now he's here to trick us into opening the array. Just as the old Divine King and the others all chose to believe Night Sorrow, a cold voice suddenly sounded from the void. Then a white-clothed man holding a long sword lightly landed on the city wall. After landing on the city wall, the white-clothed man looked at Night Sorrow and said, "This Divine King is the Vice City Lord Tandong. Repeat what you said. This Divine King will determine if it's true or not." "I'll say it again. You'll determine if it's true or not." "Why should you determine if it's true or not?" When the old Divine King Emozia and the others spoke to Night Sorrow, they were all very polite and easygoing. However, Tandong's tone was rather unfriendly and carried a cold and threatening tone. Hearing this, Night Sorrow's expression changed and he replied coldly, "Based on the fact that this king is the Vice City Lord, and you are now a suspect in our God Realm territory." Vice City Lord Tandong had a completely high and mighty appearance. F***CK. What was that? Why didn't I see you acting so domineeringly back then? When the Dragon Sparrow King in the Clear Sky Pagoda saw how arrogant Tandong was, he immediately spoke in disdain. However, his voice could only be heard by Night Sorrow, Fire Phoenix King, and Cowlinger. However, he had indeed voiced out Night Sorrow's thoughts. If Tandong was truly capable, why would his territory in the God Realm be beaten to such a state? Thinking about how he had sacrificed his life in exchange for the peace he had now, Yishang looked at Tandong and didn't say anything. He felt that he wouldn't have to fight or explain anything to such a person. "Hey, why aren't you saying anything? Are you feeling guilty?" Night Sorrow didn't say anything, but Tandong roared even more fiercely. Seeing Tandong like this, the old Divine King immediately tried to persuade him. "Vice City Lord Tandong, don't be angry. Night Sorrow is the virtuous Divine Lord. His words are verified by the heavenly Tao." "Old thing, are you saying that this king is being unreasonable?" No one expected that when the old Divine King spoke up for Night Sorrow, Tandong would suddenly fly into a rage and hit the old Divine King's chest with his palm. "Tandong, what are you doing?" The old Divine King, who had been hit by Tandong's sneak attack, looked at him in disbelief. "I'm afraid you're meddling in other people's business," Tandong said coldly and ordered. "The people outside are spies from the 7 territories. Suppress them immediately." "Vice City Lord Tandong, you can't. Night Sorrow isn't a spy. He's definitely not a spy. He's the benefactor of our Divine Realm territory." Seeing that Tandong wanted to attack Night Sorrow, Zhong Lingxiao, Emozia, and the others tried to persuade him. They all felt that it was very strange. Although Tandong was usually as arrogant and unruly as he was today, he wouldn't attack a Divine Realm cultivator just because of a disagreement. "Arrest Zhong Lingxiao and Emozia for this city lord. This city lord suspects that they're in cahoots with the one outside." At this moment, the cold-faced Tandong suddenly gave another order. Hearing this, the old Divine King, Emo Yen, said, "Vice City Lord, Emozia is my junior. You say that he's a spy. Are you suspecting me too? If you don't participate, then this has nothing to do with you. Otherwise, you'll be treated as spies too." After the old Divine King Emo Yen spoke, Tandong's expression became even colder. "Tandong, what do you mean?" Hearing Tandong's words, the old Divine King, Emo Yen, was immediately enraged. All this time, he had been fighting for the Divine Realm territory and had given his all. Now he should be called a spy. Tandong looked as if there was no reason to reason with him. "What I mean is that all of you have betrayed the Divine Realm territory. Arrest all of them." After Tandong gave the order, he roared, "What are you all standing there for? Arrest all of them. This city lord wants to interrogate them properly. Isn't your goal the Tianyan Bao in my hands? Don't accuse me anymore. If you want it, come down and take it. You should know that the 7 territories no longer exist. Divine Realm cultivators don't need to hide in the defensive array anymore." Seeing Tandong's expression, Night Sorrow replied with a cold laugh. He could clearly sense Tandong's desire for Tianyan Bao. Tandong's covetous gaze was not inferior to the Een demon king's. So you are after their sovereign divine weapon? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the old divine king immediately understood. He snorted coldly and said, Tandong, the city lord and the others will arrive soon. I want to see what you will say in front of them. This city lord has heard your dispute clearly. This city lord feels that both sides are in the wrong. Both sides are in the wrong. At this moment, a deep voice came from the void. 3 divine kings landed on the city wall one after another. Then, City Lord Luan Qianhe, who was standing in the middle, said with a smile, Why don't we turn hostility into friendship and have a chat at the city lord's mansion? The city lord is wise. Hearing the city lord's words, the old divine king, Mo Yen, immediately bowed to city lord Luan Qianhe. Then he looked at Tandong and snorted coldly. Shameless scoundrel, you are after someone else's sovereign divine weapon. How shameless. Then the old divine king Mo Yen turned to Night Sorrow and said, Brother Night Sorrow, you used the sovereign divine weapon in your hands to eliminate more than 20 divine kings from the 7 territories. This is a great achievement for the divine realm. Let's enter the city and have a chat. The city lord will make a decision for you. After the old divine king, Mo Yen, finished speaking, Mo Zia also said, That's right. Don't have a problem with the divine realm, because of one person. After all, the divine realm isn't a place where Tandong has the final say. Be good. Very good. Each of your acting skills is better than the other. When Yi Shang saw everyone's reaction, he laughed coldly. Chapter 28:13. The people in the city acted well, but Night Sorrow, who cultivated the power of virtue and had the eye of the sea serpent, could clearly feel that everyone on the city wall was acting, including the old divine king, Mo Yen, and Mo Zia. Everyone was playing their role. They first let Tandong create trouble, then implicate the old divine king, Mo Yen and Mo Zia, and let them be the peacemakers. Finally, City Lord Luan Qianhe appeared, and invited Night Sorrow to the City Lord Mansion. If there were no accidents, the City Lord Mansion must have set up an inescapable net. Such preparations must have been made in advance. Obviously, the people of the divine world had used special methods to find out that Night Sorrow had taken care of the 7 territories. Until now, they still hadn't removed the defensive array in order to plot against Night Sorrow and obtain the sovereign divine weapon. Aha! You saw through it? Even if you saw through it, what's the use? City Lord Luan Qianhe, who originally had an easygoing smile, saw Night Sorrow's expression, and his tone became completely cold. What's the use? What's the use of trash like you who only know how to hide? Do you think that you are invincible just because you killed the divine king of the 7 territories? Before coming, Night Sorrow didn't expect the people of the divine world to be like this. He was very disappointed. City Lord Luan Qianhe looked at Night Sorrow and smiled. In terms of strength, the divine world with 5 divine kings is indeed stronger than you. Moreover, the 5 of us are of the same breath and branch, so we won't kill each other. You won't have the chance to reap the benefits. Then you can come out and fight. Facing the people of the divine world, Night Sorrow, who was standing outside the city, roared with confidence. He could feel that no one in the city was stronger than the Een Demon King. Even if they attacked together, he still had a chance. Ha! Fight. A divine lord against 5 divine kings? Do you think you have any hope in such a battle? Don't think that you are invincible just because you have a sovereign divine weapon. Let's kill. City Lord Luan Qianhe, who had already shed all pretense of cordiality, no longer had any scruples at this time as he roared out an order. Wait. City Lord, please calm down. At this moment a calm voice was heard. Murong Yukong, who had been silent, spoke up. As the #1 expert of the deity realm, he had the right to speak. After speaking, City Lord Luan Qianhe didn't say anything else. At this moment he looked at Night Sorrow and said, Junior, we can make a deal. What deal? Night Sorrow looked at Murong Yukong. Murong Yukong's aura and divine domain were considered very ordinary among the higher divine king. However, the one in front of him was naturally the divine king. Killing is boring. We can make a deal, and take what we need," Murong Yukong said with a fake smile. He then continued, "If I'm not wrong, your identity is a challenger. As long as you leave the small world, you will be considered to have successfully passed the trial. Then, you will be able to obtain the reward left behind by the Lord. Am I right?" "That's right." Night Sorrow, who was looking at the city, replied non-committally. "Then this matter will be easy." The corners of Murong Yukong's mouth rose slightly as he said, "Hand over the ruler artifact, and we will tell you how to leave. What do you think?" "What do I think? I think you are shameless enough. If it weren't for me, you people would have already been annihilated by the 7 territories." Hearing Murong Yukong's words, Night Sorrow said angrily, "It's fine if you don't know how to repay kindness, but you are even scheming for the ruler artifact. How can you be like this?" "Haha, we didn't ask you for help. You were the one who meddled in other people's business. What does it have to do with us?" Murong Yukong's tone carried a trace of ridicule. After saying this, he coldly snorted, "Humph. I'll give you one last chance. Make a deal or die." "Die? I think you are the ones who need to die. According to what you said, you should know how to leave this place. Very well, then I, Night Sorrow, will beat you into submission today and find a way out." Night Sorrow didn't show a trace of fear when facing the mini-divine king in the divine world territory. In his opinion, the other party was a shameless scoundrel without much ability. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been bullied to this extent by the 7 territories. "Lord Night Sorrow, don't be careless. After all, they are the 5 divine kings. Their strength can't be underestimated." Seeing that Night Sorrow had no intention of retreating, and was preparing to fight with the other party in front of the city, the Dragon Sparrow King in the Clear Sky Pagoda immediately advised. Seeing this, the Fire Phoenix King also said, "They have many people, and the Dragon Sparrow King and I can't help. Night Sorrow, don't be too impulsive. You don't understand. Providence exists between heaven and earth. They are holed up in the city, and their providence has been exhausted. Our momentum is like a rainbow. But if we retreat now, our providence will reverse." Night Sorrow stood quietly between heaven and earth. He was facing an entire city alone, and there were 5 divine king in the city, but he didn't retreat a single step. "But in terms of strength, we don't have the advantage," the Dragon Sparrow King said worriedly. He knew that Night Sorrow couldn't use his power of virtue against the 5 divine king in the city. He might not be able to defeat them by relying on his battle strength and sovereign artifact. "Don't worry, I will win. The inferior nature of the human cultivators is the key to our victory." Night Sorrow, who was holding the Samsara Heavenly Halberd, took the Tianyun bow off his back, pointed at the city and shouted, "Who dares to fight with me? I don't want to talk to you, but you are still not done. Do you really think that you are invincible with a sovereign artifact in hand?" At this time Tan Dong, who had been silent for a long time, shouted loudly and flew out of the city. "See, this is the inferior nature of the human race. They have 5 divine king. If they attack together, it will be difficult for me to deal with them. But we are afraid of the sovereign artifact, so we don't have the courage to attack directly. So, we will find one to test them. Even if he is killed, there will be 4 left, and they can fight with me. But the one they sent can't force out the Tianyun Bao at all." Night Sorrow looked at Tandong. Although the other party was a divine king, his actual battle strength was not enough to test his limits. Although he was only a divine lord, he was not someone that an ordinary divine king could defeat. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the Dragon Sparrow King was convinced. Just as Lord Night Sorrow said, the human race has an inferior nature. It is not without reason that they are suppressed to this extent by the 7 territories. When Night Sorrow said this, Tandong had already stabbed out with his sword. The flying sword shadows looked like sparks falling from the sky. It was very beautiful. What's the use of being so flashy? Tandong, who was dressed in white, attacked with his sword shadows. Facing Night Sorrow, he directly used the Samsara Heavenly Halberd with his left hand, and shot out a forbidden spear. What's the use? Of course, it is to kill you, a divine lord. Facing the divine king, you are not using your sovereign artifact. You are really reckless. Chapter 28:14. I don't need to use my sovereign artifact to deal with you. Facing Tandong's night sorrow, Tandong smiled noncommittally. At this moment, his forbidden spear had already ignored Tandong's sword rain and was heading straight for him. The power of reincarnation contained within the spear shocked Tandong. Although he had been warned that Night Sorrow's strength was not ordinary, he had still been careless and had not taken a divine lord seriously. Boom! Tandong's sword rain struck Night Sorrow, but these attacks were like embroidered pillows, pleasant to the eye but useless. They did not cause any damage at all. On the other hand, Yishan's forbidden spear sent Tandong flying. He slammed heavily into the defensive formation of the city. The divine world's defensive array shook violently from the impact, and the city walls shook. It took a while for it to calm down. What? He's so strong without using his sovereign artifact? They saw that Night Sorrow could actually use his body to block Tandong's attack, and easily send him flying with a single blow. The 4 divine kings standing on the city walls were all shocked. Although he had only sent Tandong flying and did not threaten his life, the power contained within the attack was not compatible with his cultivation. His cultivation was only at the level of a high-level divine lord, but the power that erupted from his attack was at least at the level of a mid-level divine king. This was equivalent to a mid-level divine king, or even a high-level divine king wielding a sovereign artifact. He was a great threat to every divine king present. If they wanted to snatch the sovereign artifact today, there would definitely be a divine king who would fall. This was not going to be easy. There were only 5 divine kings present, and none of them were willing to sacrifice themselves. When they fought, they would definitely save their strongest moves as a life-saving measure. You cowardly rats, let your imagination run wild. If we fight head-on, I might not be a match for you. But when it comes to putting your lives on the line, you're no match for him. When he attacked, Night Sorrow deliberately revealed his true strength to intimidate the few divine king present. Human nature was selfish. When their lives were threatened, it was difficult for them to stay united. That was their chance. Damn you! Night Sorrow had sent Tandong flying with a single move. After that, he did not even look at him, causing Tandong to immediately fly into a rage. After he got up, he roared and threw the sword in his hand at Night Sorrow. The moment the sword appeared, a faint green light flickered on the blade. The green light was mixed with traces of black gas. Poisonous, extremely poisonous. Night Sorrow observed with the sea serpent's eye, and immediately discovered the poison contained in the sword. This kind of poison was different from ordinary poisons. Each black line was like a living worm, giving off an extremely evil feeling. Divine origin dragon locking formation. Just in case, Night Sorrow did not dodge. Instead, he directly used his technique to bind the sword and the poisonous sword chi. Facing an opponent of Tandong's level, he did not want to escape. You are a cultivator of the divine realm, but your methods are even more evil than those of the foreign races. This is really an eye-opener. After binding the poisonous sword that Tandong shot out, he immediately used the Samsara halberd to attack with the forbidden reincarnation spear. The current taboo reincarnation spear had been continuously improved by Night Sorrow, and its power was already extremely terrifying. Although it was no threat to super experts like the Een Demon King, using it to deal with Tandong was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. Night Sorrow did not show any mercy when his opponent used such a ruthless move to deal with him. Not good. Attack, save him. The moment Night Sorrow attacked with the forbidden reincarnation spear, City Lord Luan Qianhe immediately shouted, "Junior, stop." When Luan Qianhe shouted, Murong Yukong, who was beside him, had already moved. Obviously, Murong Yukong was stronger. You won't make it in time. At this moment, Night Sorrow ruthlessly stabbed the forbidden reincarnation spear into Tandong's body. This spear directly pierced through Tandong's dantian. When Murong Yukong rushed over, he directly shattered Tandong's deity C. The 5 divine king in front of him were scheming for the ruler artifact. Night Sorrow did not show any mercy, but he understood that it was a woman's benevolence. Little bastard, you deserve to die. Morong Yukong immediately roared when he saw Night Sorrow killing Tandong. Then, he struck out with his palm. This palm attack came from all directions. It was as if the entire sky was pressing down. It seems that I have overestimated you. Night Sorrow couldn't help but shake his head when he saw Morong Yukong's attack. He originally thought that Morong Yukong's strength would not be too far from the Een Demon King's, even if it wasn't. However, the truth was that Morong Yukong was far weaker than the Een Demon King. Forbidden Spear. Facing Morong Yukong's palm attack, Night Sorrow once again used the Forbidden Spear. This time he used the Treastrimsa Battle Mystic technique to raise his strength to the limit. This move again? Do you think that I'm a piece of trash like Tandong? Morong Yukong couldn't help but laugh when he saw that Night Sorrow was actually using the same move against him that he had used against Tandong. You're not Tandong, but you're also trash. After using the Forbidden Spear, Night Sorrow had no intention of dodging Morong Yukong's attack. He used the Forbidden Spear because he wanted to test Morong Yukong's strength. Boom! Both of their moves collided. The result stunned everyone present. Morong Yukong, the strongest person in the Divine Realm, had actually been smashed into the city's defensive array by Yi Shang, just like Tandong. How is this possible? City Lord Luan Qianhe, who had already flown out of the city, stopped in the void as if he had been struck by lightning. Morong Yukong, who had been sent flying, suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Since we've already shed all pretense of cordiality, everyone attack. I don't believe that this little bastard can destroy the entire Divine World City. Morong Yukong, who had been sent flying, discovered that Night Sorrow's strength was stronger than he had expected. From the looks of it, he might not even be Night Sorrow's opponent in a one-on-one fight. He flew into a rage and immediately issued a command. Divine World Army, set up the formation. City Lord Luan Qianhe, who was floating in the void, immediately roared. He didn't let the Divine World Army attack directly. Instead, he let them set up the formation and used the formation as a sacrifice for him to absorb. Roar. In the Divine World City, tens of millions of cultivators sacrificed their strength for City Lord Luan Qianhe to absorb. Luan Qianhe, who was originally weaker than Morong Yukong, had his strength rapidly increase in an instant. Although his divine domain and aura weren't as tyrannical as the Een Demon King's, he was almost on par with Wan Nu. He's not as strong as I expected, but you're much stronger than what I saw. Your combined strength is indeed above mine. Chapter 28:15. However, Tandong had already been killed, and only 4 Divine King were left on the other side. Those below the Divine King realm, who knew that words were law, would definitely not be sent out. Night Sorrow felt that with Tian Yunbao's help, he could definitely put up a fight against the 4 Divine King. There was no need to escape. Moreover, City Lord Luan Qianhe and the others should know the way to leave the trial. He had to take them down. Do you think you can see through us with just a few glances? What a joke. City Lord Luan Qianhe's voice trembled after his strength increased. After saying that, he transmitted his voice. Everyone attacked together. Don't show any mercy. Try not to give him a chance to use the sovereign divine artifact. Yes, City Lord. Vice City Lord Ling Fian responded immediately after hearing Luan Qianhe's words. Old Divine King Mo Yin also released a murderous aura. He originally looked very ordinary, but after releasing his murderous aura and divine domain, he immediately changed. Although his face was still old, he gave off an extremely dangerous feeling. Being stared at by him was like being locked on by a poisonous snake. As for Morong Yukong, he didn't say anything. However, his gaze toward City Lord Luan Qianhe contained a trace of unwillingness. He was the foundation of the Divine Realm cities, and was originally the strongest. Even City Lord Luan Qianhe wasn't his match. However, after the Divine Realm retreated to this place, Luan Qianhe suddenly learned how to absorb other people's energy. After increasing his strength, he would become very terrifying. Morong Yukong, who was originally very arrogant, didn't dare to underestimate City Lord Luan Qianhe, even though he wasn't humble. Come at me together. I'll see who I'll kill first. Night Sorrow checked the 4 Divine King with his divine soul power. He was sure that Luan Qianhe was the strongest. However, Morong Yukong couldn't be underestimated either. Although he had a certain advantage in the previous exchange, the other party might have some special means. As for old Divine King Mo Yen and Vice City Lord Ling Fian, they also looked very dangerous, but they shouldn't be a big threat. Set up the formation. At this moment, Knight Sorrow heard a voice that surprised him. The moment they were about to take action, City Lord Luan Qianhe ordered the other Divine King to participate in setting up the array. Then, the 4 Divine Kings formed a very special joint attack in 4 different directions. I thought it was a formation, but it turns out to be a combination attack. Knight Sorrow smiled when he saw the reaction of Luan Qianhe and the others. How was this an array formation? Luan Qianhe's shouting was a bit exaggerated. So what if it's a combination technique? It's fine as long as I can kill you. When the Vice City Lord Ling Fian heard Knight Sorrow's words, she snorted coldly and took the initiative to stab with her spear. Knight Sorrow smiled and countered with his Samsara halberd. However, even though Knight Sorrow easily blocked Ling Fian's attack, the old Divine King Mo Yan's attack came right after. He took out the soft sword from his waist and attacked Knight Sorrow as well. At the same time, City Lord Luan Qianhe and Morong Yukong also attacked at the same time. The 4 of them cooperated very well, and it was clearly not their first time working together. Nice move. Knight Sorrow exclaimed after seeing the other party's moves. He then used the dragon swimming steps to leave the battlefield without tangling with Ling Fian. He knew the other party's combination technique, and it was not good to fight with brute force. After putting some distance between them, Knight Sorrow transformed the Samsara halberd into an arrow and shot it at Ling Fian. The attack of the Dominator Divine Artifact. Ling Fian panicked when she saw Knight Sorrow use the Dominator Divine Artifact. At this moment, City Lord Luan Qianhe reminded her, he's just a Sir God. Even if he uses the Dominator Divine Artifact, it shouldn't be that scary. Yes, City Lord. Ling Fian responded and blocked the attack. Luan Qianhe and Morong Yukong also helped to block the attack. To them, the Dominator Divine Artifact Tianyun Bao was a completely new thing. They had never resisted it before, so they chose to treat it seriously right away. Under the combined efforts of the 4 Divine Monarchs, the Samsara halberd that Knight Sorrow shot out was successfully blocked, but it didn't have much of an effect. Haha. So the Dominator Divine Artifact can only unleash an attack of average strength in the hands of a Sir God. Luan Qianhe, who had helped to neutralize Tianyun Bao's attack, laughed disdainfully. The energy of the divine realm is mine. At this moment, Luan Qianhe suddenly roared and started to absorb the divine realm's origin energy. After absorbing the divine realm's origin energy, Luan Qianhe, who had already absorbed the energy of countless cultivators, suddenly became even stronger. The aura he exuded was vaguely close to that of the Een Demon King. This kind of strength was already extremely powerful among the divine kings. Ordinary upper-level divine kings would not be able to resist at all. The feeling of absorbing energy is so comfortable. After absorbing a portion of the origin energy, Luan Qianhe's face revealed an intoxicated expression. Go to hell. After increasing his strength again, Luan Qianhe looked at Knight Sorrow with obvious contempt. At the same time, he directly threw the City Lord token in his hand at Knight Sorrow. It was unknown what material this City Lord token was made of, but it was extremely hard. Knight Sorrow, who could summon the Samsara halberd, used the halberd to resist, and intense sparks burst forth. Clearly, its grade was not lower than the Samsara halberd. It was at least a half-step dominator. It was very impressive. Moreover, this token gave off a very special feeling. When Knight Sorrow fought against it, it felt like he was fighting against the great Tao of heaven and earth. He felt like he was rebelling, and it was very uncomfortable. What's going on? Why is this token so special? Knight Sorrow had the power of merit, and he fought with everyone openly. He had never felt like this before. What? Have you realized that you are a rebel, and that we are the orthodox of the deity world? City Lord Luan Qianhe, who had used the token to attack Knight Sorrow, revealed a trace of pride between his brows. Just as he laughed, Knight Sorrow was shocked to find that his Samsara halberd had been petrified. After being petrified, Knight Sorrow felt that the Samsara halberd had become as weak as a rock. He could not use it at all. What's going on? The token in his hand is really mysterious. At this thought, Knight Sorrow had an idea. He thought to himself, could this token be left behind by Supreme Ancestor Phoenix? He felt that if it was not left behind by Supreme Ancestor Phoenix, it would not be so mysterious. He doesn't even have any arrows in his hand. It's useless even if he has a Dominator divine weapon. Everyone attack. Quickly kill him. City Lord Luan Qianhe immediately gave the order to kill when he saw that Knight Sorrow's Samsara halberd had been temporarily petrified, and that he had no arrows. No arrows. Yi Shang chuckled when he heard this. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.